They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
Let's go racing!
Hello and welcome to Anglesey for the 10th running of Race of Remembrance. We're here on what is actually a very fair November day. The rain is keeping off, we are forecast that tomorrow, and the theme here is perseverance. Not only is it the name of the trophy that the drivers will be fighting for in the Race to Remembrance, it really signifies what you do in the military and in motorsport as a racing driver. Now, the first race we have got forming up behind us now is something that is completely new for this year. We are bringing you a capacity grid for the Race of Remembrance Club Sport Trophy race. I've got Scott Woodwist here alongside me. Scott, this race is an absolute humdinger to get us started today.
Yeah, the main event comes a little bit later on, a couple of hours, but we've got something a bit special. We haven't actually ever broadcast this race before, but it's great that we've got almost a capacity grid. We've got a great front row of a Lotus Elise and a BMW Z4. Liam Crilly, who's a multiple-time Club Sport race winner, definitely wants to try and get the special honours here, but there's a great variety, as there always is in Club Sport. There's Audi TTs, there's Minis, there's Mazda MX-5s, there's Renault Clios, there's Volkswagen Scirocco's, there's a Porsche Boxster on the grid, there's BMWs, there's Honda Civics, everything you could imagine. If you're an avid follower of Club Sport Trophy, you know exactly what this kind of grid is like. 45 minutes of kind of mini endurance pit stop racing coming up to really kick things off in the best possible way. And of course, we'll talk all things ROR as we progress with the likes of the bathon of foolishness, which is coming up, which is going to be particularly quite fun, which we'll get to that later on. But of course, on top of that, we've got 12 hours of racing ahead of us, some 55 teams. Should be an amazing spectacle, some great teams in the mix, and no one's certain to be a victor at any point in this time. All the classes are pretty much up in the air in terms of who could take home the glory. But before that, as a perfect warm-up for ROR, we've got the Club Sport Trophy racing. With a grid like this, it should be pretty impressive.
What do you reckon? Liam Crilly to get the honours first time out. He's racing later on as well.
He is pretty well ensconced in Club Sport Trophy. He's won a few races before in the BMW Z4. That's a really well sorted machine. The Lotuses, though, can pose a bit of a threat. We've got Neil and Lloyd Huggins alongside him on the front row, but also I'd watch for the two cars behind. Those Audi TT Cup cars which race in the Brscc Championship, particularly Andrew Dyer, they can be quite formidable. Another car I'm also going to watch out for is back on row 4. That's Brian Chandler in his Mark IV Mazda MX-5, the purple and chrome machine just towards the back on the 4th row of the grid. There's a few cars in the mix that are also from the armed forces, from the likes of the RAF. We've got the Honda Integra of Alex Smith. There's all sorts of great cars in the mix, and so I think it should be a grid that everyone here for Brscc, for Lindsay Close, the coordinator for Club Sport Trophy, and everyone that's involved should be proud of. Also, we've got a few Mazda MX-5 regulars from their Mark I Championships, a couple of City Car Cup cars in the mix as well. This should be a pretty fascinating race from start to finish, and a perfect way to kick off Race of Remembrance Saturday before the main event later on.
Definitely the best way to kick off. So grab yourself a cup of tea or a nice drink, sit back on the sofa and enjoy our first endurance race to kick off this Race of Remembrance weekend. It's time to hand over to the main man in the commentary box as the Bentley Bentayga safety car goes into place to lead this grid off. It's time to head up to the man, the legend himself, Mr. Paul Truswell, to take you through this first race.
Thank you very much, Rob Lewis and Scott Woodward down there on the grid, really getting the atmosphere of the Race of Remembrance weekend underway. We've already had qualifying this morning for these cars. They had a half-hour qualifying session. That's how they've come to be in the order they are now. As Scott and Rob were just saying, it'll be a rolling start behind the marvellous Bentley Bentayga safety car, which will be doing duty as well during the Race of Remembrance. It's not the only poppy car we've got here this weekend. We've got a preponderance of poppy cars, including the rather special Mazda, which was down at the Cenotaph yesterday, having its photograph taken, and I'm sure there's social media pictures of that as well. But the cars then, 38 of them due to be lined up on the grid, will be setting off very shortly indeed for their pace lap. It will be, as we were saying, a 45-minute mini endurance race, potential for a driver change, and it's a mandatory pit stop in any case for these cars. They have to stop between 15 minutes and half an hour into the 45-minute race. So in the middle 15 minutes of the race, everybody will have to be coming in for a pit stop. The pit stop will have to last 2 minutes at a minimum, during which time the driver change, if necessary, can take place. No refueling, though. As Scott was saying, we've got Liam Crilly with the BMW Z4 Coupe on the front row of the grid on pole position, car number 12, and alongside him is the number 30 Lotus Exige, which Neil and Lloyd Huggins are sharing. That's car number 30. And then on the second row of the grid, we've got the two cars from the Audi TT Cup. Number 53 is Paul Bancroft in his Audi TT, and alongside him is number 15 Andrew Dyer, winner of the last time out at the Club Sport Trophy race. So, as he was saying, a car not to be overlooked by any manner of means. So, 53 and 15 on the second row of the grid. On the third row of the grid, we've got car number 46. This is the VW Golf of George Wright. And alongside him is the number 86 Adam Morrison Mini, one of 6 cars that have been entered by Trac Scotland. And Adam Morrison then will be starting from the third row of the grid in car number 86. On the fourth row of the grid, we've got car number 58, another Audi TT, this one in the hands of Paul Hoggins. And alongside him, Brian Chandler, car 76, in the best of the Mazdas. He leads Class C for the less powerful cars. Ninth on the grid, the inside of the fifth row, is car 27, Lee Curry's Renault Clio. And then look out for the VW Sirocco, Ben Walkingshaw, car number 501, on the outside, the right-hand side of row 5. Row 6 is car number 115. This is Colin Gillespie with Will Beach alongside him, driving in the all-white Porsche Boxster. And then alongside him is car number 83, the marvellous little Ginetta, looking like it's from a different era. Well, it is the G20 Ginetta. Simon Frauen sharing with Mark de Spong. and that's the 6th row. The 7th row is car number 150, and that's Andrew Stevens and Julian Hamer driving in their Mini, and alongside that is a very distinctive Honda Integra, car number 84 of Richard Smith and Fraser Gillen there in number 84. 8th row of the grid is number 91, the Novovilsky pairing of Christoph and Richard, Elliot Novovilsky. Then alongside him is Darren Dukes. Both of those teams running BMW Z4s, 91 and 177. Then on the 9th row of the grid, we've got car number 19. This is Andrew Stacey sharing with James Cameron. Now we understand that James is going to be starting in that car. James Cameron, the man behind Mission Motorsport. So he's out as the start driver in the car number 19, the Mini Cooper. And alongside him is Harry Hayler's Renault Clio, car number 4. And then the 10th row of the grid is car number 20, Daniel and Steve Cogswell's very distinctive Nissan Almera. And alongside him is number 88, Phil and Matthew Adcock in their BMW Compact. Safety car just about back from its rolling lap, pulls into the pit lane, and it will now be between Liam Crilly and, did we establish whether it was Neil or Lloyd Huggins who was driving in the car? So we're not quite sure who's driving the Lotus, but we'll say that it's Neil for the moment, and hopefully Rob Lewis down there will be able to clarify for them. The car's coming up then to the start, and it's a fast start from the 3rd row of the grid as George Wright heads in towards target, trying to make up ground on the 2 inside of the 2 Audi TTs. He's made up 1 place there, getting up on the inside of the Audi TT. But I don't think he's managed to quite make up 2, but George Wright having a great start there from the 3rd row of the grid, and he's in 4th place as they turn through the banking for the first time and come back down towards Church. Liam Crilly has made the best start, and here it is who leads at the moment and pulling out his lead as they head down the back straight towards School and heading up towards Rocket for the first time. In 2nd place is the Lotus of the Huggins team going up there to Rocket, and then in 3rd place just tucked in behind. Oh, and there's a car there that's suddenly blown its engine. It's one of the RAF cars and pulls off to the right hand side of the circuit there at Rocket Inn, and that was Scott, the car number 84.
Yeah, it's Alex Smith in the Honda Integra. Sad to see that he's pulled off and his Club Sport Trophy race is over before it's even begun, so the next time he will get back on track will be his stint in the main ROR race. But as expected in Club Sport Trophy, with so many different cars in so many different classes, everyone getting underway with a pretty fast pace, and it is that top 2 of Liam Crilly's BMW Z4 and then the Huggins in the Lotus Elise that are trying to set the pace. Into 3rd place already has gone Andrew Dyer, and also watch out for that Trac Scotland Mini that's got the K20 engine in that machine as he heads down towards the left-hander at the bus stop to end lap number 1 under racing conditions.
Alex Smith is out of his car. The car, as Scott was just saying there, comprehensively engine failure there. What I don't know is whether he's left any oil on the circuit or not, but yellow flags being displayed to warn the drivers of that car being parked just off the circuit, and we'll see at the end of the lap whether or not the safety car is going to be required or not as the field come charging through at the end of their first racing lap. Liam Crilly had a lead of 2.1 seconds then over the Huggins Lotus Elise Exige in 2nd place. Andrew Dyer's Audi TT is in 3rd, but coming under pressure there from Adam Morrison's Trac Scotland Mini as they head through School, and just behind them is George Wright with the VW Golf as well. Those 3 cars very close together, Scott.
Colin Gillespie's Porsche got it really out of shape on the run up to the kink towards the Rocket complex, battling with Brian Chandler's Mazda. They go wheel to wheel into the 2nd part of the complex, and Morrison, meanwhile, you rightly said, was catching Andrew Dyer, and the Mini has slipped past the Audi now into 3rd place, and now Andrew doesn't get a real chance to have a bit of respite because he's now got the competitive Golf in grey and yellow of George Wright on his tail as they come down through the corkscrew and onto the Tom Price straight, as off the road has gone one of our regular Class E runners in Club Sport. That is the, in fact, red flag in fact has been thrown. That was the Adcocks in the BMW that went for the spin, but the red flag has been thrown. There's another car. I wonder, do I think possibly I think it's fluid, because Charlie Gillespie's car was moving around a lot, and now I realise it's because the engine failure that Alex Smith has had looks like it's dropped some fluid down there. I saw Ben Wilkinshaw's Scirocco also go for a spin and was recovering up at the top of the complex, so I think some fluid's gone down. So to recover that and to clear it up, race has been stopped.
Yeah, that was my initial fear, was that when that engine went, then there was some fluid down, and yeah, the safety car wasn't required to deal with the car of Alex Smith that went off there on the first lap, the Honda Integra in the RAF colours, but it wasn't so much the fact that the car went off, but the fluid which has been dropped, and the marshals will be up there at Rocket having a look at the track. Of course, what they don't want is to have the situation where they've got fluid down, oil on the circuit, which then damages the track and leads to a delay with the later races, with the later race, I should say, the Race of Remembrance still to come. Cars have been parked at the bus stop, having observed the red flag and coming to a halt. Now, we'd had one complete racing lap. They were on their second racing lap when the red flag was issued, but my guess is that the grid will be formed up in its original order, and that will be bad news for Adam Morrison, who had made his way up from the third row of the grid into third place, because he'll have to take up his position back on position 6 on the grid. George Wright, who was going great guns as well with the VW Golf, he got himself up into 5th place, which is actually where he started on the grid, was 5th. But with Adam Morrison's progress, he managed to get himself ahead of one of the Audi TTs, but not both. So Liam Crilly is being waved forward, but not onto the grid hatchings, but rather on a dummy grid, and that's looking like the way they used to run Formula One races many years ago, where they had a dummy grid about 200 yards shy of where the actual grid would be. But they're being formed up in the original grid positions then, with Liam Crilly on pole position, sharing with Neil Huggins on the front row. So BMW, Lotus Exige on the front row. Then the second row cars, Paul at Bancroft and Andrew Dyer in their Audi TTs.
And I believe we can actually, whilst we've got this red flag going on at the moment, Paul, we can head down to our esteemed third commentator, which is Rob Lewis, who's down in pit lane, to see if he's got some stories on what's happening.
Just a quick explanation, folks. I've spoken to some of the marshals that are on standby here. The reason for the red flag, pure and simply oil on the racing line. A car has let go, going all the way down the back straight and up the hill onto the corners, directly onto the racing line. We've got to be a bit sensible. It's the start of the day and we've got a 12-hour race to go later on. So it's simple. Red flag the race, put some speedy dry down on the racing line, clear it all up and make sure that these 40-ish cars could get going again and finish off their Club Sport Trophy race. It's all about safety here, I'm afraid. But because they've done so little laps into the race, they will form up on the original grid. So, once again, Liam Crilly has got to get a demon start again. But for now, back up to the commentary box.
Okay, thanks very much, Rob. The other thing you can do whilst you're down there is just to, if you can, establish which of the Huggins it is in the number 30 Lotus Exige. I'm guessing it's Neil, but if you can confirm that for us, then that will make life a lot easier for us. We know the rest of the first 5 rows, at least, who's driving the car, because there's only one driver in them. It's up to the teams to decide whether they have one driver or 2 drivers. Obviously, if they have 2, they can share the cost a little bit more evenly, but it may well be that many of them decide that they'll do it on their own. We're pretty sure that it's going to be James Cameron at the wheel of the number 19 Mini Cooper. At least he gave me the impression that he was going to be starting when he was up here in the commentary box earlier on. So we'll assume it's going to be him. So we've got Paul Bancroft and Andrew Dyer sharing the second row. Andrew Dyer in the almost rainbow striped Audi TT on the outside of row 1, the first corner target being a left-hander here at Anglesey, so pole position is on the left-hand side of the circuit. That's where Liam Crilly has lined up. Coming into position a little bit late on parade there was Ben Walkingshaw's VW Sirocco. Not exactly clear why he was so far back. In fact, he came through 11th at the end of lap 1, so should have been all right. Meanwhile, the marshals out on the circuit are laying down the cement, which speedy dry is what Rob called it. It's basically just a cement dust, which is designed to dry the oil up, but also to minimise any damage to the circuit, because there is a tendency otherwise for the oil to rub away the surface of the track.
Should give our first shout out to the marshals and officials for all their hard work, not just today but also yesterday when they were testing, and also we had practice and daytime and nighttime qualifying to set the grid for the main event, and of course all this morning as well. There was a really nice sort of team photo for the officials and marshals just on the bank outside the bus stop here with the special Mazda ROR kind of poppy car that's here this weekend, and also one of the runyourfleet.com Brscc rescue units. Really nice team photo, which I was privileged to be a part of, and it's a big shout out to all of their hard work for doing stuff like this, because as we say often, but almost don't say it enough in many cases, without the marshals and volunteers and everyone involved, genuinely, motorsport events like this couldn't happen. So full stop.
It's a team event, isn't it, Scott?
It is.
The racers couldn't go racing without the marshals to officiate, and equally the marshals wouldn't have any racing to watch. It wouldn't be for the racers, so between them they make a great effort. And if you want to be part of the marshalling team, then just go and have a look at marshals.co.uk. Or the other alternative, I suppose, is the BRSCC's Driven by Racing event.
I didn't want to make it a plug, but I'm glad it's a nice lead-in for that one. Yes, good point. Yeah, there is Driven by Racing next weekend, which is at Silverstone. If people will allow me to mention it for a second. Thank you, Paul. Which is, and that's a key way for you to, if you want to get involved and interested in marshalling, you can head to Silverstone. Tickets are free. There's no kind of they're free, but it's just apply for them. You can come down both days and check out not just race cars, and even have a go yourself in any kind of race car, maybe a car like this that's on the Club Sport grid or any of our established championships and series. You can get test drives or passenger rides. You can even take your ARDS test if you want to. We do that in conjunction with our friends at the Motorsport School, and we also give tasters and train people that want to marshal, to become a clerk of the course, to be a scrutineer, to do rescue training, all sorts that want to try and get involved in. So if you do want to fancy just getting involved in motorsport, finding a route into British motorsport, and even just seeing what BRSCC does as a whole, then get yourself to Silverstone, 16th and 17th of November next weekend. Tickets are still available. Just head to the BRSCC website and do so. And that's enough plugging different things when we're here for ROR. So, but nice lead-in nonetheless, Paul. I appreciate it.
Well, BRSCC, one of the key clubs in the UK organising motorsport, and as I've said many times, the interest in British motorsport at the club level is very high indeed, and I'm never cease to be astonished at how much interest there is in club level motorsport. As Rob and Scott were saying, down on the grid, 38 cars in the Club Sport Trophy, 55 lined up to take part in the Race of Remembrance at this time of year, this far away from home, because let's face it, the Anglesey Circuit isn't very close to anybody's home. No disrespect to those who live out here, but it's a long trek for a lot of drivers. A lot of teams have come a long way to be here, and it's a reflection of the superb support that British club racing gets, and we're very grateful to the BRSCC as well as the other clubs that are involved in British club racing, that they make it possible for us to enjoy so much racing. Meanwhile, the marshals hard at work, and also the Anglesey Circuit staff ensuring that the oil cement is nicely rubbed in and will provide hopefully a little bit more grip, but it will be the single pace lap which they get behind the Bentley safety car, which will then be their only chance to experience just how much the circuit has been affected by that trail of oil which the Honda Integra left. The Honda now being brought in on the back of a flatbed recovery unit. Alex Smith having been the driver, which is not a result that they would have wanted for that car on that opening lap, but sadly it was a fairly comprehensive engine failure which led to that huge trail of oil being left on the, well, it's not so much the racing line as they go along past school, but more when they get into the braking area at Rocket Inn, the uphill left-hander, where they really need to get the car stopped as quickly as they can. And again, you only need to be unsighted for a moment and you get yourself onto that slippery stuff, and basically there was really just only one option, was to stop the race, get the oil dealt with, and then getting us underway again once the oil has been treated.
So Colin Gillespie, we saw that battle briefly on camera between himself and Brian Chandler. I think he was one of the lucky ones, and I wasn't sure if just he was carrying too much speed through the right-hander at school and up towards Rocket Complex, but his car was a little bit sort of squirming around, and now we know there was fluid down there. That's the reason why he lost a little bit of traction, but he was a little nervy for a split second, but thankfully he survived, and he will take the restart back from his original grid spot of what looks to be, I think, row 7. So back on the grid for him in the white Porsche Boxster 3.2 that sits in Class D. It's done quite well for a Class D car to be fairly up through the high in the order.
Actually on row 6 is where he's supposed to be.
Row 6.
Yes, he is on row 6.
Yes, you're right.
The grid not quite side by side as it ought to be. Lovely new painted grid markings on the circuit. Whether they've been put in especially for the Race of Remembrance, I'm not sure, but shall we say they're not being used by any of the teams apart from the front row. Anyway, it's the only way they can get all 38 cars onto the grid, or 37 we've got left now, with the absence of Alex Smith's Honda Integra, which should have been on the 7th row of the grid, car number 84. But as I say, he obviously is going to be not restarting. Everybody else, I think, will be. Course vehicles still present there at school, although one recovery unit returns. The clerk of the courses, well, that's Scott's Jaguar they've got down there, still there. I say it's Scott's only because he used it to drive up here the week.
I can assure you it's firmly Brscc. It's not mine, even though I might be the custodian of it to and from race circuits. It's definitely Brscc's, but it's a rather nice cruiser up and down the motorway when you go to and from circuits, and it's quite a privilege to drive that kind of car. So that's making its way to pit then. Wonderfully supplied by Run Your Fleet, we should mention, so thank you to them. That's been in the club since about 2021, so that's about kind of 4th year into the partnership between the club and the fleet management company, so appreciate them for providing that. Of course, that's one of a number of cars here that's providing service for the event. And we have to shout out to Bentley as well, because Bentley, of course, supplying this really fantastic looking Bentayga safety car, which is adorned with poppies, and I think even they're sort of emanating from where the Normandy landing as well.
I was going to say, there's a kind of map of Northern Europe on there.
Yeah.
If you kind of close your eyes a little bit. Anyway, we've just been shown the 5-second board to get us underway again at the second time of asking. It will still be a 45-minute race, only instead of starting at the scheduled time, it'll start a little bit later than that. But as I say, we're still going to be having a 45-minute race, and the time will start when the car comes through at the end of this pace lap. So one further pace lap, and then the full 45 minutes. 15 minutes of racing before the circuit will show the pit window open board at start finish, and that means that cars can come into the pit lane at that point. Whether they will choose to do so, or whether they'll stay out for closer to half distance, or some of the sensible money is on staying out until the very end of the pit window, just in case we get a safety car interlude, because there's no penalty for pitting under safety car in the Club Sport Trophy. So the 2-minute pit stop is valid whether you're in the whether you're within safety car or whether it's green flag running.
This field just making its way around single file, I think trying to keep away from the sector. You can see the point where which Alex Smith's engine ceased to exist anymore, and of course the trail of quick dry that's been laid down by the marshal officials. Again, really nice work from everyone involved to get that done in quick time, genuinely no pun intended, as they make their way through. Of course, the full international layout for Anglesey being utilised. Of course, there are there's a few different layouts, but the two most commonly used ones are the international layout for this weekend and the coastal layout, which instead of turning left off onto the extended part down the Tom Price Straight and up towards the hairpin, they would turn left and down what's aptly named the corkscrew. But the full circuit in use this weekend, as the cars now will start to get around to that point, because coming out through Peel now. I imagine when they get towards that Tom Price Straight, they'll just start to once again form up in that neat 2x2 formation on that rolling start. And of course, once the Bentley Bentayga safety car pulls in, racing will get underway once again. It's another chance for Liam Crilly to try and get a decent start. The Huggins in the Lotus will try and want to go with them. And I'd say also watch out for the likes of Adam Morrison, who had that really clean start in the Mini with the K20 engine. He was up to fourth place, and hassling Andrew Dyer for third. And then the other couple of cars that came through that were fighting with the likes of Brian Chandler and Colin Gillespie's Porsche. So
the other car which had a good start was George Wright, wasn't it, Scott?
Yes, it was.
The VW Golf from the third row of the grid. So two cars on the third row who gave notice of their intentions in the earlier start, in giving a clue as to what we might see happening this time. Of course, the problem, as you described it, with everybody avoiding the cement dust as they went up towards Rocket, is that none of them actually know whether there's any grip on that cement or not. So they're going to arrive there on the first racing lap with a bit of an interesting job in front of them. Anyway, the Bentley has pulled into the pit lane. Liam Crilly is side by side now with Neil Huggins as they turn through the bus stop. Then the two Audi TTs side by side on the second row of the grid, and then George Wright and Adam Morrison on the third row as the lights go out. And once again, a very good start indeed from Liam Crilly. He heads to target in the lead of the race, and running a little bit wide on the exit there was Andrew Dyer. Gets the car two wheels onto the grass and loses a couple of positions as he does so. So up into third place comes Adam Morrison. George Wright trying to hang on there on the outside line with the VW Golf, and does hang on but loses out, goes back to fifth place. But Adam Morrison there again in very racy mood, getting up alongside, putting two wheels alongside the Audi TT of Paul Bancroft, and storms past him in a straight line, having much better straight line speed there from the Mini, and kicks up the dust as he goes up towards the braking area for Rocket. Turns into Rocket in third place. So Adam Morrison then, he got up into third place earlier on, up into third place again then for the Mini as they turn along the skyline. Somebody's gone off there at Rocket. In fact, there's two cars off. One is
Julian Hamer and Andrew Stevens. The other one's 92, which I think is Chris Stone's Honda Civic that's gone off, and they've both had two separate incidents at Rocket. I think the Stone Civic has gone off in sympathy of the Mini which went around. There was a few cars that were diving down the inside of each other up towards the Rocket complex, and so that was one of the unfortunate casualties. That Mini has taken at least one class win in the Club Sport Trophy previously, but 92 is back underway, so through he goes.
Yeah, that's Rob Phillips and Richard Winnie driving the Honda Civic. It's a change of number. It was originally in the programme as 176.
I see.
But they've had a change of number. Leaders coming across the line to complete the first racing lap, with Liam Crilly again in a comfortable position at the end of lap 1, 2.2 seconds ahead.
George Wright has stopped on the final corner, reason being not quite clear, but I spotted it on the screen as he was coming through. So one of the favourites that you pointed out, Paul, that was going to be in good form, unfortunately that car has, for whatever reason, ground to a halt on the outside of the last corner. Now, he's managed to refire it.
Gets going again, and is going to resume in about 28th position, I would guess. We'll see where he actually comes through.
23rd by the looks of it.
Okay, so
got some work to do.
guessed wrong. But yeah, so George Wright got lots of overtaking to do now. Another car who's a long way back there, and he's going to have to make up ground. That's the 150 Mini Cooper that you described having hit the moment up at Rocket, but it's got going again. Andrew Stevens sharing with Julian Hamer. But up at the front, there's another car pulling off along the back straight between Church and School is number 27.
Lee Curry's Renault Clio. But also we had in the pit lane 848. That was Matt Crozier's MX-5. Just saw on stream that was pulling into pit lane. So unfortunately issues for that car. That's a Brscc MX-5 Championship spec machine. So
lucky we got 38 starters because the attrition rate so far has been fairly severe. But anyway, they're up at the front of the field. Liam Crilly then, having made that good start, he's now coming back down from the hairpin in towards the bus stop for the second time and continues to extend the margin of his lead over the Huggins Lotus Exige in second place. In third place is Adam Morrison's Mini. In fourth place is Paul Bancroft with the Audi TT. Then there's a bit of a gap back to Brian Chandler's Mazda going well there in fifth place. In sixth place is now the 115 car, the Colin Gillespie Porsche Boxster. The all-white car has moved up into sixth place, and then Andrew Dyer recovering a little bit in seventh place, or having to recover in seventh place, having been elbowed up back by a slower car, or by the faster cars, but who were starting behind him on the grid.
I think that the Gillespie, I think that's Will Beach, former TCR UK racer, who is in the Porsche. I think that's been moved up to Class C. It was originally classified as Class D, but it's had a class change. So now the battle it's having with Brian Chandler is for the lead of the class. It's just gone sweeping round the outside under brakes in towards Rocket to take the lead from the chrome and purple MX-5 Mark IV. Early class leaders as we go on to lap 3. Liam Crilly currently leads the way in the BMW Z4 number 12 in Class A and overall. Class B is being led by number 53, Paul Bancroft. Red kind of Audi TT Cup kind of Brscc spec Mark II Audi TT. That's currently fourth overall. Brian Chandler has just lost the lead at the moment to the Colin Gillespie Will Beach Porsche in the Class C lead. That's on the 115 Porsche that's in the lead. Class D leader is the Stacey and Cameron number 19, which is the Andrew Stacey and James Cameron. So they're leading their class in the Mini Cooper. So excellent stuff for Major James Cameron.
And it's James Cameron driving that car, so he promised me. So
there we go.
He's lost none of his racing. Hasn't done any racing, I think he said, since 2017 or something like that. Or 2021, I don't know. He certainly hasn't raced for a number of years.
Yeah.
Last time he was out was in a catering. So coming in very much as a one-off here. I think it's the actual reason for him racing is that he didn't want to do the biathlon of foolishness, and doing this was a good reason for him to get out of doing the race at the biathlon of foolishness. We can go down to the pits because Rob Lewis is there. Rob, who have you got?
Unfortunately, one of the early victims of the bit of a schmozzle to do with the oil down in the first few laps. Car 848, Matt Crozier. Matt, you are going to get back out in the car. They're just sorting out with a new wheel. What happened?
It was just because we got the concrete dust out from the engine pop earlier. The whole pack is moving over, and it just, if you're on the outside, you're either on the grass or you're on the marbles and the dirt. And it was just, I couldn't stop the car. It was picking up the rubber and the dust, and I just ended up collecting someone on the way through, but it was really unfortunate. It was not the sort of interview I wanted with you, to be honest.
You really wanted a bit more of a winner's interview,
but we had such a good qualifying. We were up in, I think we were third in class, and it was just something that I really wanted to do well here, so it's my favourite circuit.
Right, before I get kicked out the way, I'll let you get back in the car and crack on, but the team are just getting a new wheel on the car now with an inflated tyre on it. That's the important part. George Grant looking on for us as well in the paddock, sponsoring the Race of Remembrance this year, but Matt Crozier getting back into the car to get back out. He's got some grounds work to do, but the cement dust already causing some issues this early in the race. Back up to the commentary team.
Okay, thanks very much, Rob, down there in the pit lane in the thick of the action. Liam Crilly, meanwhile, goes on to his fifth racing lap. We're into the 8th minute of the race now, so not that long, about halfway to the pit window being opened. Still Neil and Lloyd Huggins sharing the Lotus Exige in second place, 6 seconds now adrift in second place. In third place, good little battle going on there between Adam Morrison and Paul Bancroft's Audi TT, just about nose to tail there. Adam Morrison for the moment holding the Audi off, and then next up is the Andrew Dyer Audi TT in fifth place, just ahead of Will Beach in the Porsche Boxster, then number 115, and then just behind the pair of them is the Trac Scotland Mini Cooper, which is being driven at the moment by either Adam Kindness or Craig Dillon. So that car is up into 7th place. Brian Chandler is next in the Mazda number 76 in 8th. And then Paul Hoggins, Audi TT in 9th place, with Ben Walkinshaw's VW Sirocco in 10th.
Just a quick mention to Class E. There's a nice little battle developing there between 19th to 18th to 20th position between the top 3 in class. And that is the Adcocks, who are stalwarts of Club Sport Trophy, as Matt Croge's car now with a re-inflated tyre gets back out into the race, out of pit lane. So that's currently between the Adcocks, who are former BMW Compact Cup racers, and their old BMW Compact Cup car, and that currently leads the class, but it's battling away with one stalwart of the class also, which is the Cogswells, and they're one of the unique kind of BTCC period inspired liveried Nissan Almera. You don't see many Nissan Almeras racing these days. And then we've got Jordan Pimley and Mike Close. Jordan Pimley, who was vice champion in last year's 2023 Mazda MX-5 Clubman Championship. A couple of sporadic rounds this year. Mike Close, of course, has been experienced in Mazdas too. They're currently in 3rd place, and they're separated between them by about 2.2 seconds across the board between them. So it's looking pretty close between them, particularly the fight for 2nd place in class. But the Adcocks currently have a lead, and that's a bit of a reprieve for them. In fact, they're just coming onto the screen now, onto the pit straight between these 3 cars. And they've got the Cavan Taylor Class D Renault Clio just behind them also. And that's a neat little battle that's doing well. And I think the Adcocks actually will be glad for the restart, because they had to spin up at the complex just before the red flag was thrown.
Another car to look out for, Scott, is going to be the George Wright VW Golf. Remember that car had the moment down at the bus stop a couple of laps ago when the car just ground to a halt and George had to fumble through trying to get it to restart. He went down to 23rd place, I think it was, you said.
Yes.
He's got up to 14th now, so he's already made up 9 places, and he's now challenging the Elliot Novovilsky BMW Z4. So looking to make up more places. Certainly he's lapping more quickly than 3 or 4 cars ahead of him, so has more ground to make up. Meanwhile, you spotted...
That was the Adam Kindness Craig Dillon Mini that's gone off the road, and that was from 7th position. So whatever happened there to that car, that's gone off at the hairpin, because it's now going down the back straight towards the bus stop. So that's just coming through the final corner now, but actually just sliding its way around a little bit. He wasn't quite, maybe had some dirt or mud on its tyres that caused it to have a little bit of a wiggle through the final corner.
Yeah, coming down in 9th place then, the 155 Adam Kindness Craig Dillon Mini Cooper. And so he lost, 3 places. He was 7th down to... lost 2 places, was 7th down to 9th with that moment. George Wright, meanwhile, moves up to 13th place with the VW Golf. So he's made up another position on that lap. We are 3-4 minutes away from the pit window opening. And then, as I say, it will be a matter of strategy for those teams to come into the pits that want to come in early on. Others may be leaving a little bit later, but it's down to the teams to decide when they come in. Whenever they come in, the pit stop is a mandatory 2-minute one from pit in to pit out, and there are penalties for going under the minimum pit stop time. 30 seconds added to your race time, plus however short you were on your pit stop. So it has cost... In fact, it has changed the outcome of Club Sport Trophy races in the past. I think last time out at Silverstone, Andrew Dyer kind of lucked into the win because the car in front of him made a short pit stop.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter how short the pit stop is, it's 30 seconds plus literally how much it is. So it could be half a second, 2 seconds, 10 seconds. Doesn't matter how short the pit stop is. It's default 30 seconds plus the time you have to make up. This is the intriguing battle on track I'm watching on screen. This is the fight for third place. It's third place in Class A, but the Class B leader. This is Adam Morrison in that fast-starting K20 engine, I believe. Mini Cooper. It's making a wonderful noise as it heads its way out of the right-hander at Church and now onto the back straight, with Paul Bancroft in, I think it still is mostly an Audi TT Cup spec machine, in fourth position, ahead of Andrew Dyer in class. They're first and second, respectively, the two Audis. As you see, cocks a rear wheel in towards the comp, but you can tell that car's pretty stiffly sprung on the rear, because just lifting its inside rear wheel as it turned through the first part of Rocket. And so these two cars fairly evenly matched, both front-wheel drive. In the way just now past, that's the Peugeot 206, that's the Trevor Hancock number 16 Peugeot. It's been racing for a while. Another car that's a regular in the Armed Forces Challenge. They make their way now through the corkscrew off onto the international circuit, as we are now less than 2 minutes away from the pit window opening in this special ROR Club Sport Trophy support race, and we'll see who decides to dive in first when that pit window opens.
Yes, I suspect that the leading runners will leave it a little bit later if they can, unless we do have a safety car, and then we'll see a whole gamut of them coming in. The screen showing the Nissan Almera there in the middle of its little battle for 18th place between the Cogswells in the Nissan Almera and the Adcock brothers driving in the number 88 yellow BMW Compact. That's Philip and Matthew Adcock, and the Nissan Almera in the hands of Daniel and Stephen Cogswell.
I believe it's, I think it's father and son. I think Philip's the father and Matt's the son, I believe, if I'm correct.
Right.
But we've got actually a three-car fight here, because right behind them is the black and yellow MX-5, you can see there, of Jordan Pimley and Mike Close. So this is now the fight for the Class E honours. It's the best supported class in the ROR this weekend, race this weekend, because 16 Class E cars this weekend. It's been boosted by some of the Mazda MX-5s and a couple of the regular City Car Cup cars as well. This is the closest battle on track.
Into the pits has come the Trac Scotland Mini Car 155. This is too early to be a routine pit stop, so this is a car that had a new engine fitted, or at least a engine repair. They've sent out for more engines at Trac Scotland, and they've been working very, very hard on that car, but unfortunately for Trac Scotland, it looks like a return of the problems for the 155 car, Adam Morrison's car. They're going very strongly indeed. This is also a Trac Scotland entry, as you say, with the K32 spec in that car, but currently running in third place with Trac Scotland with the 155, a car that they're hoping to run in the Race of Remembrance itself as well, but Adam Kindness then bringing the 155 into the pits. And because the pit window is not open, or wasn't open at that stage, that will have to come in for another stop in order to complete its mandatory stop before the end of the race. Pit window, though, is now open, so any further pit stops happening will now be within the window and can be timed as 2-minute pit stops. That stop for the Adam Kindness car, dropping it out of the top 10 and elevating into the top 10, Ben Walkinshaw, who is now 9th, and then the Ginetta G20 of Simon Frowen.
Just noticed there's been a change for second place in Class E on the screen there, so the Jordan Pimley Mike Close MX-5 has got past the Cogswells in the Nissan Almera, so there's been a changeover in that battle, and they're only just ahead of our race leader Liam Crilly, so he's coming to put a lap on them, so he's essentially lapped everyone up until 18th position or so. He was right behind them and the Cavan Taylor Renault Clio. As you say, pit window is now open, so we'll get our first couple of pit callers very shortly.
And the two that were battling come into the pit lane together as well. The Adcocks and the Cogswells, the BMW Compact number 88 and the Cogswells Nissan Almera number 20 coming into the pits absolutely together. Meanwhile, the battle on screen continues between Adam Morrison's Mini and Paul Bancroft's Audi TT. 56 from 53, or 86 from 53 in third and fourth places. So the timed pit stop taking place and a whole fleet of other cars coming in as well there, including Paul Bancroft out of 4th place. Yes, Scott?
Paul Bancroft in, the Hamer and Stevens car that had that spin on the first. Whoops, that's the Mazda 2 that's gone for a rotation. That's car 18 that's spun up at the corkscrew. So that is the Lewis Warren Connor Woodford 2 Racing UK Mazda 2. Those cars usually appear in Club Sport as well, but whoever's in that car has gone for a little light rotation, and away it goes once again. Now the front end bonnet is off on the Kyner's car, so I'm afraid that might potentially, that's got all the makings of its cup race being done, or it ain't going any further anytime soon.
I'll say that's doubly bad news, because that's the car that's due to take part in the Race of Remembrance as well. Meanwhile, Adam Morrison certainly pushing on with the Mini there, as Minis tend to. You were talking about cocking that right, the inside rear wheel, the left rear wheel, but almost in traditional Mini style there. That car, as it went into the left-hander of Rocket in.
Seeing the Novobilskis have brought their BMW Z4 in, one of several Z4s that have, I'm sure they're ex-Z car spec that have now found a new home in Club Sport Trophy. Every time we've had Club Sport Trophy races throughout this year, there's always been about 5 or 6 or 7 of them that have popped up in the same class.
Somebody else goes off at the bus stop there. That's the 500 Mazda MX-5 of Jordan Pimley and Close. Was the Class E leader. I think he still does lead the Class E cars, not as a result of, but despite that grassy moment, just carried too much speed into the bus stop and ended up having to understeer straight on.
I've noticed that the pit stops have finished for the 2 cars that came in that were leading the Class E battle, which is the Adcox and the Cogswells, and they've both come out, and no change in the order, so Adcock is ahead of Cogswell.
I've got a clever screen here, Scott, that tells me the pit stop times. 2 minutes 0.285 for the Adcox BMW, 2 minutes 1.495 for the Cogswells Nissan Almera. So nothing timed to choose between them, but what perfect timing, 2 minutes 0.285. Relatively short pit lane here at Anglesey. So you haven't got quite as much of a calculation to do, but you have to get your timing pretty accurate to come through as close to the 2 minute minimum as that. And I would say that cutting it a little bit too fine is 2 minutes 0.285.
But it's legal pit stop.
Absolutely, and they can be very pleased with that. And as I say, once the cycle of everybody having done that pit stop, I think it will put the Adcox in very good position indeed to take the Class E win, especially with Jordan Pimley taking to the grass as he did on his last lap through. He did a 1 minute 53 as opposed to 1 minute 50, which would be the normal sort of time for. In fact, here comes Jordan Pimley into the pit lane now, having scared himself a little bit last time around.
Just whilst that's happening, you see on the screen here we've got the Invitation Class Ginetta. We don't normally have Ginettas in Club Sport usually, but for this one race it's in as Invitation purely just for the spirit of the race. Simon throwing hand over to Mark Despong, who apparently on his helmet is telling us to vote for Pedro, whoever Pedro is. So, there you go, bit of front pressure for whoever that was. Anyway, Class E battle continues on. You can see there the Cogswell getting back onto the tail of the BMW, but this is now key in terms of if these two can make their way through any traffic they've got to get through, although ironically Class E cars, lapping cars or passing cars that are going technically quicker than them in terms of a higher class, seems quite interesting, but that's the pace that they're setting at this point in time. Yeah,
both of them with different drivers aboard now as well, of course, having both being 2 driver entries, so getting used to the conditions in this early stage of their stint. As well as having to have the battle between them, and I fancy the BMW might just be making a bit of an escape from the Nissan as they went up to the left-hander at Rocket in that time.
I'll say the Cogswell Almira was pushing. You saw as it went through the first part of Rocket, the rear end was just hopping around as it tried to rotate the car through the first part. So again, another car that's fairly stiffly sprung. These two are going to push on. The key thing is going to be in terms of where these cars end up by the time that the Pimley and Close MX-5, which is going to be pitting right at the top of the pit lane about here, at the top end here, how quickly that can complete its pit stop and where they're going to be in relation to when it comes out to complete its stop so it can carry on its battle for the second half of the race.
Into the pits comes the Huggins Lotus Exige at second place, but we can go down to the pits because Rob Lewis has someone else to talk to. Rob, what have you got for us this time?
Well, I've had a chat to a lot of the drivers that are coming in from the cars, and they're talking about grip levels actually not being too bad. I've got Simon that's just jumped out of the lovely Ginetta G20 there. First of all, you don't see many of them out racing anymore.
There's still a few knocking about, but yeah, they're starting to get a little bit rarer. Luckily, Mark, the guy who's co-driving with me, supports the cars, so he's got no excuse for not being quicker than me. But yeah, there's still a few.
So you're donned in the beautiful Royal Air Force Motorsports kit, so you're going to have a busy weekend ahead. Am I right in saying these cars running on sustainable fuel?
Yes, well, the cars we're running in the main race are, yeah, an Audi TT running on vegetable oil and an MX-5 that I'm in that's running on synthetic petrol.
Plan to go that way with the Ginetta?
Well, if the price comes down a little bit, because I'm putting the fuel in that one, it's different for the team-owned cars.
So the race overall for yourself, how was it that first stint with the oil down?
Yeah, it was. I mean, the first lap is always carnage anywhere. Slightly tricky going up to Rocket, and luckily the guy in the Scirocco ahead of me did an amazing job of holding it. But yeah, after the sort of stop and restart, actually wasn't too bad. Nice day.
So the cement dust doing its job?
Yeah, absolutely. Although it did, I think quite a lot of my lungs are full of it right now. It's perils of having an open car.
So what's your job now? You've done the Club Sport Trophy race. Hopefully get a good result in that. What's your role in the Race of Remembrance later? Well,
firstly, bathon of foolishness. So go and jump in the sea, and then jump in an MX-5 and start the main race.
Fantastic. I'll let you crack on.
Thank you very much.
No worries there. So lots of pit lane activity coming up and down the pit so far. I haven't seen Liam Crilly yet, and because he's a solo driver, I can imagine he's going to want to duck in at the absolute last minute. He's probably praying for a safety car. That's the only thing that's going to help out the front runners to get a bit more of a gap in this race. Lots of pit activity going on at the moment. I'll throw back to the commentary team and we'll see if we can speak to a few more of the drivers.
Thanks very much, Rob Lewis down there. And yeah, of the leading group, the leading 10 cars, we've only had one of them making their pit stop so far, that being the Huggins Lotus Exige. A drama though for Adam Morrison with the Mini number 86. Remember, that car was up in third place, a time in the pits for him of 1:59.186, so he's less than a second short. But it is crucial because he is short, so it will be a penalty at the end of the race for Adam Morrison's Mini, I'm afraid. However far up the field he manages to get, I don't think he's quite on the pace with Liam Crilly or with the Huggins Lotus Exige, but Adam Morrison adding to the misery of Trac Scotland there by just mistiming the pit stop.
Yeah, in fact, actually, TSL are on it straight away as well because they recognise it too. They've actually put a red exclamation mark where his, on like his status column, which signifies that he is going to get a penalty because of that. You're absolutely right. Here's Ben Walkinshaw, who was another one driver that was lucky to survive the spin on the fluid after the Alex Smith Honda Integra dropped it on the first start. And in terms of that Class E battle, I'm going to keep an eye on the change that we've had. So the current lead at the moment is Simon Waterfall's Mazda MX-5 ahead of Chris Fantana in his MX-5, but it's a different one. And in fact, yeah, there is confirmed on the timing screen. 31 seconds to be applied at the end of the race for a short pit stop for Adam Morrison. So guilty is charged. There he is. And then they come down the back straight. There is the, I think that's the 19, which is the, yeah, that's the Stacey James Cameron Mini, which is currently still leading Class D by about almost 30 seconds from Cavan Taylor. He spent most of his race chasing the three Class E leaders. In terms of that battle, at the moment, it is Adcock and Cogswell, those two cars quite far ahead of Pimley. They are still technically a net first, second and third in class, but the time that they've gained, the two cars here, the BMW and the Nissan, over the Mazda MX-5 is quite measurable because they've got quite a sizable gap on them by the time they come back around.
Yes, out of the car already then is James Cameron, the car number 19, in 19th place, but leading its class, as Scott was just saying. So Andrew Stacey has now taken over behind the wheel of number 19. It was quite a long pit stop for the Mini team. Not quite sure whether it was James taking his time getting out or Andrew getting in, but they were 2 minutes 22 on their pit stop. So will have lost some time as a result. Anyway, we can go down to the pit lane because Rob Lewis has someone else.
So he's been all year running lots of these Mark 1 MX-5s as close racing. I've got Mike close here. He's just jumped out of his Mazda MX-5 and handed over the keys to Jordan Pimley. Mike, first time out racing this year, I understand.
Almost, yes. I did go out with Cadwell in the BMW once, Super Cup, but it's first time back in the Mazdas. It's nice to be back in something you can really chuck around.
And there's something quite special about coming to Anglesey at this time of year to participate in any way in this event.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ex-forces myself. I did 9 years in the Reby, so it's amazing to give back to the charities that helping lads out when they're coming out, lads with difficulties. So it's amazing to be here. So
talk us through that race start. Bit hairy at the start. How was it for you, kind of back in the pack?
Yeah, so well, you say back in the pack, but in with the E-classes, yeah. It was a good start. I've never done a rolling start before, so that was new to me. But two laps in, and someone decided they didn't want the contents of their engine all up the hill towards Rocket, so that made a bit of carnage. Yes, that was awkward, and then we got a red flag and restart. Got a second chance of getting that rolling start going, and got this one a bit better. Got the gearing right this time, and made my way through the pack. The second race started well. There was a bit of a tussle at Rocket, so I managed to sneak a few places there. I think I came in first in class at the point I handed over to Jordan, and he thinks he's quicker than me, so we'll see how good he goes.
Well, I did say the glutton for punishment for Jordan being quick, as you had to come on here and talk to us, so thanks for chatting to us. And the family here working away this weekend, because of course wife Lindsay looks after the Club Sport trophies, so she's beavering away in the background.
Yeah, she never stops, bless her. The kids are always bugging us for coming down here, but she works hard. When she's not working hard here, she's working me hard at home, so yeah, why not?
Fantastic. Well, Mike, enjoy the trip out today, and any plans for the rest of the race?
I'm going to watch the rest of the race. Hopefully Jordan brings it home with a golden trophy, and then I'm in with the Citroen C1s helping run one of them. So yeah.
Fantastic. Good to see you, Mike. I'll let you get sorted out.
Cheers, buddy. Always a pleasure.
Thank you. Always good to talk to Mike Close of Close Racing. We've got the Team Air Supply Golf in as well. We noticed that had a bit of a tussle there earlier on. The NJM team just getting the tyre pressures and everything set up on that. Don't forget, pit stops here. Minimum 2 minutes you've got to be in this pit lane, so it's not so much of a rush this time, but still that pit work is key. You've got to get that car in and out in 2 minutes. There's a bit of a skill to it. For now, back up to the commentary box.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, it's not just a matter of getting it in 2 minutes, you're doing it in less than 2 minutes. And Liam Crilly has gone out again, having done his pit stop in less than 2 minutes. So he's done a 1:58. So Liam Crilly is going to get a penalty. Adam Morrison is going to get a penalty. And a battle on, Scott, for your favourite class, the Class E cars between the Nissan and the BMW Compact.
It's the most populated, in fact. Whilst that's happening, sadly, the Hamer and Stevens cars pulling up. That's the Mini that had the spin on the first start earlier on. So that, I'm afraid, is pulling off the road with an issue. But yes, they were side by side exiting down the back straight towards the bus stop, and then side by side across the line, separated by the chasm of a margin that was just under 0.2 of a second as they came across the line. The Cogswells now have taken the lead of the class. They were just ahead, but the Adcock BMW was up the inside, and now it is Advantage Nissan ahead of BMW. The third place car in that class, looking at lap time, has just set a personal best of 1:48.166. The pit window has now officially closed, so if you haven't made your pit stop, that's tough.
Well, not quite, because the way the rules work is you are allowed to pass the pit window closed board at the start-finish line. But you're right, the official pit window has closed, but if you don't have any radio communication and you're relying on the board, then you're allowed to pass the board once, and then you have to make your pit stop. But in effect, that means that the one that we've not had in yet is Paul Hoggins. He's not made his pit stop. Andrew Dyer is in the pits at the moment in the Audi TT, and provided he does a legal pit stop of over 2 minutes, he is now sitting in the box seats, which is exactly how he won the race the last time the Club Sport Trophy was out at Silverstone. And he's experienced at doing this. But both Liam Crilly in the BMW and Adam Morrison in his Mini are both facing 30-second plus penalties for short pit stops. So it's an Audi 1-2 in the race, with Andrew Dyer leading and having done a pit stop of 2 minutes 0.9. So Andrew Dyer cut it very fine indeed. Paul Hoggins now comes into the pits at the very last moment in his Audi TT, number 58. So he's being shown at the top of the screens as being the race leader. But as I say, he's in the pits. Andrew Dyer has just left the pits, having done a legal pit stop. Then in third place on the timing screen is Liam Crilly's BMW Z4, car number 12, but that's facing a 30-second penalty. Then we've got Adam Morrison's Mini in fourth place on the timing screen, but that also has a 30-second plus penalty. And then we've got Paul Bancroft with his Audi TT next up in car 53. Then it's the leading Class C car, Colin Gillespie sharing with Will Beach. We think Will Beach started it, with Colin Gillespie having taken over in number 115. He leads Class C ahead of Brian Chandler's Mazda. And then in 8th place is Ben Walkingshaw with the VW Sirocco ahead of the Ginetta G20, which is now in the hands of...
I think it's Mark Despong, I think.
Mark Despong, yeah.
Just noticed as well, another car's had a penalty applied to it, the 117, which is one of the McGregors, and their Mazda MX-5. 117 is Robert McGregor, and he was about a second short. He's got a 31-second penalty applied to his time as well. And ironically, even though on the timing screen it says we've got Crilly second and Morrison third, unfortunately that will now become, well, on track first and second. Unfortunately, we have to now ignore those cars because they're not in contention for the victory anymore. They will slip down the order. It means we are pretty much looking at, depending on how quickly they get out on track, it could be looking, I think, even possibly at an Audi 1-2-3 if it works out that way, and Hoggins can turn that pit stop around quick enough.
Well, it depends how far ahead Liam Crilly can get, because Liam was leading by 15 seconds at the half-distance mark when he came into the pits, so he could well overcome his penalty, but we'll see what happens with that. More news down from the pit lane, though. We've got Rob Lewis down there. So, no, right. So, I thought we had Rob, but no, we don't at the moment. So, we're looking at the last, 11 minutes of the race still to go. The VW Golf of George Wright, remember that car had its problem earlier on and was down in 23rd place. He's now up to 10th. Following a pit stop of 2 minutes 02, so he managed to get a legal pit stop in, but George Wright then continuing to look to make up places. He should be able to do so. Somebody else is off though, Scott. It's a white roof, you can see on the screen.
My initial thought was because it was in that pack, maybe the Porsche, which if that's the case, that's a shame, because that car was running sixth and it was leading the class.
That was Colin Gillespie's car, the 115. Car.
The game I like to play in this case is spot the car that goes tumbling down the timing screen. So if his car does start moving down the order, then unfortunately that's his car that's had the problem. But it's any car I can see that's got a white roof and is that low slung. So unfortunately, I'm afraid the Porsche might be the one that's hit trouble, I'm afraid. And that is the case. That's a real shame because that car was running pretty strongly. And Colin Gillespie was going to try and give it a really good finish, which means now Brian Chandler, if that's the case, will now inherit the lead. And those two were having a fight early on in the first start between the two and early on in this second start. So yeah, in fact, good look at the timing screen. I see the Gillespie and Beach car is going down. It's lost a couple of spots.
Yes, and Brian Chandler going through then 5th place overall in the lead of Class C.
Yep.
And yeah, with the 115 Porsche Boxster then definitely the one that stopped out on the circuit. Meanwhile, Liam Crilly's lead at the front of the field is actually 45 seconds.
Wow.
So he has overcome the penalty, which will be 31 or 32 seconds. And so despite a short pit stop, Liam Crilly's lead is not secure by any manner of means, but with less than 10 minutes of the race still to go, Liam Crilly has a 45-second lead over the Mini of Adam Morrison, which is in second place, shown on the road, but of course he has a penalty as well. And the next car back is Paul Bancroft's Audi TT, which is nearly 50 seconds behind. So Paul Bancroft, although he's the leading car which hasn't been penalised, hasn't been penalised enough, or rather the leader, Liam Crilly, hasn't been penalised enough to enable Paul Bancroft to take the lead. He'll take second from Adam Morrison, but he won't be able to take the lead from Liam Crilly, who's been storming through the field with his BMW Z4 Coupe, and as I say, has established this lead of now 47 seconds over Adam Morrison, 53 seconds over Paul Bancroft.
The reason why he's a multiple club sport winner in the past, because he's done this before and certainly put on quite a fine display in that machine. Whenever that car turns out on a Club Sport grid, you'd be wise not to bet against it, because it certainly can be and usually is in the mix for victory. Just seen the Trevor Hancock and Ian Cooper Peugeot 206. Could see a 206 on the grid. That's been chased down by the Christian White Matt Mills Mini Cooper as they come down towards the hairpin. We've got just under 8 minutes to go now in this ROR Club Sport Trophy support race before the main event that starts at roughly around about 3 o'clock. So at about roughly 2 3/4 hours time.
Liam Crilly going through, completing his 21st lap, lapping that time 1 minute 41s. His best lap was a 1:38.9, but still lapping quickly enough to extend his lead over Paul Bancroft's Audi TT, which is in second place once we take account of the penalties. And then Andrew Dyer, who will be in third place once the penalties are taken. The big loser in terms of the penalties is Adam Morrison's Midi number 86, just going through now across the start-finish line, and with the sole tyre cross on the roof of the car. But Liam Crilly then turning through there in number 12, in the lead of the race with the BMW Z4, looking very good indeed for what could turn into a win. We've got a yellow flag out on the circuit somewhere. Not quite sure for why, but it's been withdrawn again.
Keep an eye on that Class E battle, which actually has risen quite nicely up to 11th place overall, which is not too bad for Class E cars, given they are the sort of the perceptively the slowest cars in the field with the lowest power to weight ratio. Matt, no more than about 105 brake horsepower per tonne, I think. That's battle between Cogswell and Adcock. The Cogswells and the Adcocks. It's currently 1.5 seconds, no, 2 seconds, maybe
2 seconds.
now, but now in the Nissan's favour. So it looks as though the Cogswells might be on course to, at the moment at least, with 6 minutes to go, pick up a victory for the Nissan. And I have to say, there's a couple of cars that do this quite well. I think another car that's very similar in this kind of livery. Shout out to Alec Townley, who races in the Fiesta ST150 Challenge. He has his car adorned in the kind of Rapid Fit inspired blue and yellow Fiesta. Of course, this one, of course, is the very same as the 98-99 livery that the Primeras run by Ray Malek, which is a bit of an association this weekend. There's a rather lovely, almost like a retro mod kind of 250 GT or short wheelbase GT looking machine, which is, I think, has got some RML involvement by the looks of it.
Yes, it was. It is actually based on a Ferrari, as far as I know. So it served as the safety car at the Silverstone Historic Festival, or the Silverstone Festival, it likes to call itself nowadays. And made certainly that Festival of Historic Sport very special indeed. Brian Chandler has just turned in his best lap of the race so far, in 5th place in the leading Class C car and the leading Mazda MX-5, and he is the only, well no, not the only, but he's the last car not to have been lapped by Liam Crilly, who is now on to his 23rd lap with less than 5 minutes of the race still to go.
Just a good thing to point out, and also looking at some of our YouTube comments watching, it's good that we've got people watching on YouTube. We have to give a shout out to a fellow commentator and a friend of yours and mine, Dave Goddard. So hello, Dave. But he pointed something out that good spot on that, because we did actually quite spot it. The Neil and Lloyd Huggins Lotus apparently didn't reappear from its pit stop, and because of that, it's been missing since the pit window opened, essentially, when it made its pit stop. So it's now firmly out of contention and is all the way down the order in towards the bottom of the field.
Yes, 36th place. And as Dave points out, that car made its pit stop and then didn't reappear from the pit. So it was, well, whether it came in on schedule or whether they came in slightly early, not sure, but it only completed 13 laps and is not circulating at the moment. So that car wouldn't have challenged, or it could have challenged, because it was less than 30 seconds, or it was around 15 to 20 seconds when they made their pit stops, the gap first to second. Adam Morrison pushing on as well with his Mini, car number 86. He's just done his personal best lap of the race at 1:41.789. And just looking at that battle that you were talking about, Scott, between the Cogswells and the Adcocks, the Nissan and the BMW, separated now by 1.2 seconds. The best lap of the race set by the Adcocks BMW at 2 minutes 0 compared to the Nissan's best lap of the race, which is 2 minutes 1.4. So there's over a second separating them in terms of best laps, but the driver at the moment of the Nissan is, it seems at least, quicker than the BMW as they cross the line and complete another lap.
Gap's still about 1.2 seconds. They had the 155 Mini in between them, but lap time wise as they came across, very similar, both on 1 minute 48.2. So in terms of pace, very even. So it looks as though that he takes one small slip up from the Cogswells, and the Adcocks will be straight onto their rear bumper again. They've only got 2.5 minutes to go here, so only about roughly, what, a couple more laps, 2, maybe 3 at a stretch, depending on how quickly the leader can get around.
And another position made on that lap by George Wright's VW Golf. He moves up to 8th place, so making the best of a bad job from 23rd to 8th for George Wright in the VW Golf. He's got another 10 seconds to make if he's going to catch Ben Walkinshaw, and at the moment he's not lapping as quickly as Walkinshaw's Sirocco, and with less than 2 minutes now remaining of the race, that's going to be too much of an order, I suspect, for George Wright to make any further places, but still I think 8th place is going to be as good as he's going to get, but still a good performance from him.
Quick check-in on class leaders. So Liam Crilly, of course, leads Class A and overall in the BMW Z4. Class B being led by Paul Bancroft in the Audi TT. Brian Chandler firmly 5th place now now that his main rival of the Gillespie and Beach Porsche has pulled up between Rocket and Peel. He now leads in 5th position in the Mazda MX-5 Mark IV. Class D in 13th overall is Stacey and James Cameron. So looks like that it's going to be Andrew Stacey and James Cameron in car 19. So a good effort from them to put themselves into the class lead. In Class E, well, we know that battle's going on. It's between currently the Cogswells and the Almera.
And they've closed right up again.
They have.
Scott, with the traffic they've had to battle with. So the Cogswells have been a little bit hampered, I think, by that traffic. And the Nissan now coming under pressure from the BMW. Got the better of the traffic through Target as they went out of the off the start-finish line up towards the banking.
And I think this might be the last lap of the race because the leader came across the line with about roughly, 1 minute 20 to go. And the lap times are in the 1:30 at 1 minute 40s. And the leader's now making his way up towards the Rocket Complex under breakers. So I think this is the last lap of the race.
Absolutely, I'll agree with that, Scott.
And so that means that this is now, if the Adcocks want this to happen, they're going to have to push. You can see the Cogswells flashing the headlights on the Almera. Move, get out of the way. I've got a lead to try and defend here in the class. But the Adcocks are going to push as hard as they dare. Can't see the last lap board's gone out at all, so maybe not.
Has.
Oh, it has gone out.
No, it has gone out.
Okay,
the board is perpendicular to our view here, so very difficult to see. Just see the white board.
I see it now.
from end on. But Liam Crilly then making his way around this final lap of the race then with the BMW Z4 Coupe. Up at the hairpin at the top end of the Tom Price straight at the moment. He'll turn through the hairpin and then back down past the old pit lane. Comes down past the old pit lane now, dumping into the bus stop turn, the final turn onto the start finish line. Here he comes then, Liam Crilly, to take the checkered flag and defend the win that he has. He's got a lead of 55 seconds, will mean that even with the 30 seconds applied, he will still turn out the winner, but it will be to second place man Paul Bancroft's Audi TT rather than Adam Morrison's Mini, which is coming through now. But also coming across the line is the Nissan Almera then, so the Cogswells just making it to the checkered flag with the Nissan Almera ahead of the BMW Compact number 88, finishing in second place in Class E by less than a second. There's 0.8 of a second separating them at the checkered flag, but a good class win then for the Nissan Almera, driven by Daniel and Stephen Cogswell. George Wright comes home there, finishing in 9th place in the end. He lost out on the last lap, in fact, to the Neil de Sprong in the Ginetta G20. There goes Adam Morrison in second place now, only now, finishing ahead of Paul Bancroft, but Bancroft then inherits second place as Adam Morrison takes the penalty. So the official finishing order is first number 12, Liam Crilly, in the BMW Z4. Second and winning Class B is Paul Bancroft's Audi TT. Third and second in Class B is Andrew Dyer, car number 15, in his Audi TT. Finishing in fourth place. Oh, will it be? Yes, it will be. So finishing in fourth place, Adam Morrison's Mini, following its penalty. Finishing in fifth and winning Class C is Brian Chandler with the Mazda MX-5. And then one lap behind is Paul Hoggins with his Audi TT, car number 58. Winner of Class A, B, C we gave you. Class D was won by Andrew Stacey and James Cameron in the number 19 Mini Cooper. James is going to be insufferable now. Somebody throw him in the ocean.
He's got to get ready for the bathon of foolishness now, isn't he?
Well done, James.
If he is.
Yes, well done, James and Andrew. Then in the winning Mini Cooper S in Class D, and then the Daniel and Stephen Cogswell duo in the Nissan Almera taking victory in Class E. The only other car being in the invitation class being the Ginetta G20. Lovely to see that car, actually. Car you don't see very many of these days. Car number 83, finishing in 8th place overall. But great race, and I presume that we're going to get some presentations down there. I can see Rob Lewis there in the middle of the winner's circle, and ready to talk to our race winners. So Liam Crilly then, bit of a hiccup. The winning margin in the end, following the application of his penalty, being given as 29.279 seconds. So he would have won by a minute, but for that penalty for the short pit stop. And we can talk to the race winner, courtesy of Rob Lewis.
And I'm here in a Parc Fermé. The brakes on this Z4 are so warm. Very nice and toasty. That was a hard race for you. You still won by nearly 30 seconds with the time penalty. How was that for you?
I guess it made it interesting, didn't it? I told myself to just take it easy, but I just tried to squeeze everything out of it as usual.
As usual, the car has been absolutely phenomenal for you this year.
Yes, it's been great. A few little tweaks this year, you know, a few more horsepower, a little bit more aero, new brakes, and it's all helping.
Now, Robin Welsh, I can't tell you the contents of this message that was put on the whiteboard, but a certain special message, come on Robin, a certain special message was put out on a whiteboard for this man to tell him about the penalty, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little bit. If you've seen Le Mans 66, it was a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction based on that. I saw he had a penalty and didn't realise how clear he actually was at the time, but I know he had someone in reserve, so I thought, well, let's just get rid of that attitude for now. And then, yeah, he was 20 seconds clear, so we were all good. But yeah, it was go like Cluck.
Yeah. Well, basically, give it some jandle, I would say, Liam. And were you aware of the penalty yourself before Robin put the notice out?
No, I knew I was super close exiting the pit lane. I thought I just clicked over 2 minutes, but I'm guessing it was less than half a second.
Probably a bit more than that. I'll let your team tell you.
Well, then I don't know where the speed limit line is, then, do I?
Well, congratulations, Liam Crilly, a worthy overall winner, and he takes the Class A honours. Let's have a little walk around. You can see just how vast and varied this grid is. I need to find an Audi TT in second place, the Bancroft car. Let's have a little wander down, because there's so many cars in this race of different shapes and sizes. Somewhere in here is an Audi TT, car number 53. We are having some audio issues actually, which is a bit of a shame. Actually, that looks like that's taken a bit of a... I'll speak to Mr. Scott Woodward actually just for a second. So we're just, unfortunately, Scott, you've just sprinted down from the commentary box to join us, doing your bit for the Brscc. We can't go and speak to the other drivers because unfortunately we've got signal issues. But what a race that was!
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining. I think the battle of the race was in Class E between the Cogswells and the Adcocks, and there was running side by side at the end to kind of give a thumbs up to each other. That was a pretty strong battle between them. Really nice, strong entry. I think also a story of the race was James Cameron. taking victory in Class D, which, as Paul said on commentary, he'll be insufferable now for the rest of the event because he's won the class. But it's good to see him looking pretty good. Of course, I'm not sure if he's doing that instead of the biathlon instead, but if he is doing it, then fair play as well. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's a testament to how good Club Sport Trophy is. It's been fantastic all year. Great grids, lots of great variants in cars. You get the same types of cars with different specs all the way through. It's been another great season for Club Sport. Massive grids wherever they've gone, and obviously more the same for 2025. And there's going to be, if anyone likes that, but in sprint format, there's a new version of the course for next year, which is going to be the Production Cup, which is pretty much essentially a sprint version of the Club Sport. Maybe focused slightly more towards the hot hatches in that sense. Can't speak, but. Yeah, it's going to be another mega year for Club Sport. Their calendar looks good for 2025, and I anticipate it's going to be just as good as it has been all year long.
Absolutely. We'd like to bring you some more drivers to talk to, ladies and gentlemen, but unfortunately we're just going beyond the range of all the receivers.
If I can try and figure them out, do you want me to try and be a run and pick
I think I'm going to send Scott to go and pick up some drivers for me.
I'll have a go see if I can find who I can find.
He's going to grab some drivers.
I don't know all their faces.
He is. But it just shows you that the Club Sport Trophy, you've got all eras of cars here. You've got everything from a Honda Civic Type R, like the Benjamin Griffiths VTEC Direct Built car here. You've got the humble Citroen C1. This is in a City Car Cup spec. So you've got the 15-inch wheels. You've got a very basic standard Citroen C1. So you could pick up a car like this and get your first entry into endurance racing, 45-minute races, in a car as cheap as this. You could pick these up for about £4,000 now. Phenomenal cars. The Honda Civic EP3 Type R as well, more powerful, that being Class B, C, if you really want to pump some chilies into it, up to Class A. And then you look at the likes of Liam Crilly's beautiful BMW Z4. Outstanding. Class A, it's had a lot of love, a lot of care, and a lot of setup put into it. But you could probably still pick up a car like this for very reasonable money. So, kind of proves that the Club Sport Trophy, it's not all about spending all the mega bucks. If you pick the right car with the power to weight, get it right, the regulations are just, you can really get yourself a good car going. One man I need to speak to, actually. You would have noticed the Nissan Almera out there with sort of a family vibe about it. Yep. So, Dan, you've been racing in that car for several years now. Yep. It's one of the only Nissan Almeras racing in the Club Sport Trophy grid?
Yep, the only one racing in the UK, from what I know. Yeah.
How was that race for you?
Hard work. Yeah, Matt and Phil in the E36 Compact gave us a real good battle. My brother had a smashing start. He had a good battle the whole first, his stint, and yeah, swapped over and straight back into battling. Really hard fought race. Good fun.
Really hard fought race, and the Almera proving to be capable, even though it's such a rare car.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've been running it for, 7 years now, so we know the car quite well. We know how it works, and yeah, we're just pushing it further and further.
Fantastic. I'll let you crack on. We've got some more drivers here. Let's this is the bit where I just sort of jump in and embarrass you now. So you've been racing in the Club Sport Trophy. How was your race today?
Oh, it was all right. Yeah, I think I won Class C, but I don't think there was much competition there. So I think I might have been the only car, but it don't matter.
Well, the Class C winner there, so that's the Chandler MX-5.
That's me, yeah.
And you finished 5th overall in a class that's still fairly well populated. You've got a couple of runners in there, so
not a little bad for a little old MX-5, is it?
Not bad for a little old MX-5 at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. Good little car. I've not really used it much.
It's Brian Chandler talking with Rob Lewis there. We need to quickly, actually while we've got a moment, if you're listening to this on the public address here at Anglesey, we've got a Seat Ibiza which is parked in a wrong place. So if you are the owner of Seat Ibiza LX11 PUK, please move your car. That's a Seat Ibiza LX11 PUK. Please move your car as soon as possible, otherwise the Brscc will send a vehicle and move it for you. Thank you very much. The spectators who are here are okay, we can go back actually to Rob Lewis. So Rob, who have you got now? You've no longer got Brian Chandler, I can tell.
James Cameron, a great win for him, and he's going to be dressed slightly strangely. Let's go and find out what some of these other individuals are dressed like. And we've got Greg Watch going on this afternoon. We'll explain what's happening there as well. Let's go for a little wander.
Can we go now? Sorry, on live stream.
I am still on live stream, yes. Right. I've got Scott Woodwis here joining me. I think we're heading up to the biathlon of foolishness, Scott. Let's go pick some people out.
I see. Yes, let's do that.
Fantastic. So, take a walk through the paddock. So we've got Parfum behind us and the assembly area, all the teams lining up.
So the biathlon of foolishness, starting in chaos as it often does. It is the next item on today's agenda, shortly going to be getting underway. It's supposed to start at 1 o'clock, although we're running a little bit late on the schedule, so they'll be trying to get the biathlon of foolishness underway as soon as possible. This, for those regulars of the Race of Remembrance, is an event that really does make the charity nature of this event very clear indeed. It's a biathlon. There's some running and there's some swimming, and then there's some more running. And the idea is that the runners will set off from the pit lane exit. They'll head through target up towards the banking, go round the banking and then back down the circuit on the other side towards Church Corner, the right-hander, flat out through Church. They'll then go straight on there rather than going round where the track goes, and then across the grass, up over the tyre barrier, down to the beach, which, again, if you're just watching this and you've never been to Anglesey, the spectator enclosure on the outside of the circuit leads directly onto the beach. And there's occasionally, when there's a little bit of peace and quiet there, I've been there myself, and you do see some wildlife. There has been seals spotted down there on the beach. I remember a few years ago my son was down there, and he actually managed to get some video of a seal just taking a rest down there on the beach. Anyway, I think the noise of various people arriving is going to frighten off the wildlife, but anyway, the idea is that the runners will then take to the sea. There'll be a frogman out there to support, should anyone get into difficulties. And having swum out to a buoy and back, they then clamber back up the beach and make their way onto back onto the dry land and run back again. We can go down, though, to Rob and Scott, who are in amongst them.
Okay, we've gone from the racing to the silliness. I'll keep it down. We've got James Cameron behind us, just giving the briefing for the biathlon of foolishness. Check this lot out.
And you'll be coming back on a slightly different path. Same detail. Please be really careful as you come up, because you're dressed as a crayon. You just need to bear things like that in mind. It's an important part of the safety brief. Right, everybody happy? Do you think you understand that? Yeah. Right, sneaky buggers trying to steal a march on that side. Get back, get back, get back. Come on, you're not doing the full distance if you sneak forward. This is a serious Olympic event. Ish. Right, all of you lot, you're about to get mown down. Yes. Out of the way. Out of the way, apart from very brave photographers, of which there's at least one.
So, I think we're about to get racing underway for the biathlon of foolishness, and James Cameron's about to give the signal, so we'll give him the command in a second. Might get slightly run over, but here we go. Here we go then. Ready?
In the spirit of Race of Remembrance, what could possibly go wrong? Biathlon of foolishness. 3, 2, 1. Go!
There we go. I'm standing firmly behind our cameraman. And away they go for the 2024 Biathlon of Foolishness for Race of Remembrance 2024. Right in the thick of it as they go down towards turn 1. So the route that through the first corner out of the pits. They go down around the banking, out along turn 3. 1 or 2 do try to cheat by going across, and then we get them across the top of the bank all the way along and then down towards the coast, which is where Rob Lewis is quite literally hot-fussing it down towards. There, our second cameraman will be down there and I'll be tuning in to see what's going on. Now, one person we have to keep an eye on, particularly for Brscc purposes, is Head of Formal Development Greg Graham, who has decided to dress himself for this year's event as a unicorn. Now, I haven't actually seen him yet. There was a unicorn costume in there, but it looked like it was somebody else, so either he's decided to find the costume. I haven't actually seen what his costume looks like yet, so we're quite intrigued to see what happens there. But we're just going to make our way down out of the pit lane and down across towards a little further round so we can watch them. And whilst that's happening, I think some of the gridding up's being done, or 1 or 2 bit of photo shoots are being done for Race of Remembrance. And so you quite literally have just about anything and everything. There were animals, there were people in plenty of fancy dress, so we'll see how this one plays out. So we're just making our way across to see what's going on. I think we're starting to make our way across so we can catch them as they're starting to go up towards the bank. I'm looking at a few of our first runners at the moment, and we've got a rather large rooster. We've got, I think, first of the dinosaurs is also making its way down as well. There are those who do take it quite seriously and take it as a running race. There are others who simply just take it at their own leisurely pace, as we're doing at the moment here, as we keep an eye on this one. And I need a signal if we're going to throw back up to Paul and Co in the box whilst this race goes on. Whilst that's happening, I'm just keeping an eye out for Rob Lewis, who I'm certain is still hot-footing his way down towards the coast to watch the competitors head through. See that we're going to catch us on candid camera. 1 or 2 of them can't even do the whole circuit. They're cutting across. That should be a penalty of an extra dunking in the sea, I think, because of that, because that's just not in spirit of the rules. So they make their way down out of the banking, and now they're already sprinting their way up and over and into the bank, and they'll run along it where there are plenty of spectators. You can see here in the camera, we'll probably catch you here, there's plenty of spectators who are lining the bank up here to watch the competitors as they go past. I can just see, I think, Rob Lewis, who's just there with the red bubble hat just walking along. I think he's just out on top there, if he's trying to find his way through. And of course, this is a fantastic part of the event because it means that everyone gets to have a bit of fun, bit of silliness in what is a relatively serious event. Race of Remembrance is always quite fun in general, but this is the more light-hearted point of it. The unicorn, at least the unicorn costumed gentleman, which I was presuming was Greg, but is making its way out through Church Corner. Some runners making their way through faster than others. I can see Luigi up there as well. I can see some in rather interesting dress. I can see others making their way across towards the top of the bank. And as the race continues on, again, some are more leisurely paced than others. But this is all part of it. This is all part of Race of Remembrance. This is part of a great tradition. And, you know, what could go wrong when you're going into the coast when it's November and it's freezing cold? But you see a few of the competitors already making their way through. We've got a couple of the dinosaurs that are going a bit of a leisurely pace. You can see in there, it's more runners. We've got crayons here this year as well. We've got a flamingo. We've got Smurfs. We've got more crayons. Blue's firmly ahead of green in terms of crayons. We've got 2 of the traffic cones, who I fully anticipate I thought would go much further forward and then create a traffic jam for everybody else by holding each other up to close the route. We've got a herd of roosters that are also just behind them as well. If you want to turn the camera here and just going through, we've got 4 of them there. 3 in the group and 1 straggling at the back. A couple more, I think, chickens in the mix as well. So there's a bit of a herd as it makes its way down and over the bank. And then we'll hopefully be able to see what's going on with our leaders when Rob gets down there. I can hear them in the background. The leaders are cheering them on. So they're already giving them some encouragement as they head across. The flamingo has just overtaken the Smurf. Never thought I'd say that in my commentating career. But it's all sorts going on with Bath of Foolishness. Right, green and yellow crayons have now caught up with each other. So they're now in the slipstream. They're overtaking the unicorn and one of the traffic cones. One of the traffic cones has broken away from the pack like an errant one. A bit like when I saw here at a 2CV race a few years ago when there was a bit. So I think, as they're now going off the bank, it gives me a chance to be a bit of a respite. Let's now head down over to the coast, where we can go back down to Rob Lewis and catch it, see how the leads are getting on and how wet they're getting. Over to you.
Thanks for handing over, Scott. We're having a day at the beach here as we see everyone coming down, heading towards the water, including that man there, James Cameron. He's loving it. Always rocks that stripy suit here. We've got all sorts of fancy dress costumes going on. We've got the flamenco as well. We've got a Smurf here going on. How's it going? We've got lots of multicoloured facets going on. The problem is we need to make our way down there, really, and get in amongst it on the beach. Come with me. Come on. We'll make sure we don't run anyone over first. Here she comes. More fancy dress coming through. We're being dressed as a Race of Remembrance presenter and camera person. I'll tell you what, this is an absolute first for me, going down to the beach to interview people that have just jumped into the water, and we'll give you a visual view of what they're actually doing here. We've got the Operation Motorsport. So are you going for a swim?
I am going for a swim.
It's, there's nothing like Anglesey on a November day, is there?
We have to be crazy to do this, but this is why we come.
Absolutely, and word is you're planning something similar in America. Are you going to go for the biathlon there too?
We're going to try to do something very similar also at the the Veterans Race of Remembrance next year at Virginia Raceway in 2025.
Fantastic. Good to see you guys. Go and get wet. Now, let's see if we can find some more people here. We've got, oh, Mario's turned up. Luigi's miles down the road. We've got lots of traffic cones. This is the reason I get stuck going into work on the M27. What possessed you to...
Don't drink and drive.
Ah, okay, exactly that. I take it you're trying to get after Mario.
I am. He seems to have evaded me so far. And that damn princess.
Can't see any barrels either. Have you managed to catch many Indians?
No, none.
Shame, really. Right, and we've got the 1980s turning up as well. Very fetching. Is this from back in the day?
It's just what I wear on Fridays. I just thought I'd wear it today.
Yes, absolutely, and so you should. Yeah. Now, as part of Greg Watch, I have got here Brscc top man, Mr. Greg Graham, who is...
Leave it, mate. Leave it.
He's dressed as a unicorn. That's very fetching.
Thank you.
You're about to go and get wet now. How are you feeling? You don't want to tell me, do you?
I can't breathe.
Tell you what, we'll catch Greg on the way up because he might be a bit wetter by then. Oh, I'm loving this bit. As you can see, we've got a cluck of chickens behind me. James, talk to us. What's the costumes all about?
These are Scuderia Polaroso chickens!
I'm telling you, it's the C1 teams. They get absolutely nuts every time. Graham, Scuderia Polo Rosso, you're getting ready to race in this Race of Remembrance. You're dressed as a chicken, really taking the preparation seriously.
I've got to start as well. That'll be fun, won't it?
Yeah. What's
the motto? The lid on.
What's the motto you guys normally follow?
Just never give up.
Absolutely.
Never ever give up.
Fantastic. And raising money for a worthwhile cause, doing this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's good to do that, but we're just like dicking around, to be honest.
Fantastic. Yeah, you better go and get watered up. Let's see if we can catch some people that are on the moist side as they're coming out. We'll see how cold the water really is. Now, I think they're trying to limit the amount of people going in and out of the water, obviously for safety's sake. But if we pan the camera around, they've got to go in and out of that water, dunk their head down, nice and refreshing, and then get out while they're rather wet. So I'm going to see if I can grab some people as they come out of the water. It's a bit more difficult. We've got, oh no, the dinosaur's deflated. What's going on there? A lot of the costumes, unfortunately, because they need to be deflated to allow them to dip their head under the water. Deadpool's decided to come out as well. Hang on, let's grab a chat with Deadpool. I didn't realise Ryan Reynolds had managed to come all the way to Anglesey at this time of year. How's the water?
It's fresh.
Very fresh.
Especially in my Crocs.
In your Crocs, can you feel any extremities?
No, nothing, no.
Race-wise, you looking forward to it?
Maximum effort.
Maximum effort for the race, definitely maximum effort.
For the green GT86.
Loving that, and I'm loving the costume there. I'll let you go and get warmed up. Fantastic. We've got the pink flamenco there going on as well. Can I just grab you, sir? Come on. You're the reason I get stuck in traffic.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be him. He's the much slower one.
How's the water?
You taste it really nice. I've been to the Canary Islands, and to be honest, it's pretty much the same. Yeah. I can't really tell any difference.
No, and the nuclear attack submarine the Royal Navy have got out there just to keep an eye on you guys. Did it go well?
Yeah, just swam round the outside of it, said hello to the little sailors who were on board, and yeah, Yeah, back in.
Just gave him a little salute.
Yeah. Right.
I'll let you go get dried off. Hang on, we've got to speak to this gentleman here. That's a very wet pair of Scotsmen. Guys, how's the water?
Fine to get to about here. Oh, Jesus. Pretty cold. Really cold.
Fairly cold.
Colder than last year, anyway.
There's nothing like Anglesey at this time of year, though, is it?
No, that was bad. Aye, it's a shock to the system, that.
What makes you do it every time?
I know. You know, it's a good cause.
A fantastic cause. Race of Remembrance coming up. Guys, how you feeling?
Feeling good. The car's been in good in testing and qualifying yesterday, so long may it continue.
You're in the car first, guys. You're doing Scotland proud. Go and get yourself dry. Fantastic there. Great effort from our pair there. We're on Greg watch, ladies and gentlemen. Keep an eye down the valley. Here he comes, Mr. Greg Graham with his Brscc cap on. He looks absolutely soaked. I'm sure the likes of Charlotte and Paul and everyone in the Brscc headquarters team will be laughing their socks off at this and feeling a bit of pride at the same time. So I'm going to wait here and see if we can grab a chat with Greg, who's got a soggy unicorn. Things I thought I'd never say on a broadcast. Let's see if we can grab a word with Greg. Greg, you're being chased by police at the moment. How's the water?
Just keep it coming. What water?
So when did you start working for the police?
About an hour ago.
Loving it. Some of the costume ideas here are absolutely phenomenal. Let's have some disco in our lives, and clearly the strongest man ever. How's the water?
It's fantastic, yes. Fresh.
Is it?
I said
it was nice and warm. Does it sort of
takes your breath away?
Takes your breath away, but sort of gives you the energy to go into the race later on.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it?
Yeah. No, she's in the pit lane, I'm on the rescue truck, so always supported it.
So not only are you dressing in orange and looking after the guys out on the track, you're donning up the gear and going into the water as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh,
For the world.
fantastic team. Let's let you guys go and get trained off. Hello, we've got from the German. How are we doing?
Mr. Gumby, hello. Warm.
Very warm. Fantastic. Race later on that you've got to run, 12-hour endurance race, Race of Remembrance. How are you feeling?
Pretty good. Car not broke. Good.
Fantastic. Oh, proper character building. Spider-Man, what's happened?
Yes, I'm a bit damp.
Yeah, the web didn't work then?
No, and it also means I can't breathe either, which is a bit of an issue, now it's wet. But apart from that, if I asphyxiate halfway across the field, then if someone could deliver me to Cornwall, that'd be lovely. Thank you.
It was a noble cause. Fantastic. Well done. That's everyone, really. I think I'm done down in the water. If we could do one final panning shot and just look at that view to that really cold water. The Navy attack submarines decided to head off to pastures new now and protect our shores and stuff like that. I think it's probably time for me to hand back over to Scott as the runners come back across the race circuit. And more importantly, does Greg make it back?
So, hanging back from Rob, the contenders are already making their way back through. Last few are coming across the line. We've got, again, some more interesting and weird and wonderful costumes, as you've seen throughout. The traffic cones have already come past, but here they come. We'll see if we can grab a couple of them as they come through. See if we can grab the two Scots here, just to get their thoughts on how that race went as well. So we'll quickly see if we can grab them as they come in to finish the race. Well done, chaps. How was that?
It was good.
Good?
Aye, it was good.
You mean good? You mean absolutely freezing?
It was good. It was cold just when you got up to your chest, but it was good.
Yeah. Just quickly explain the costume.
Yeah, it was Scotland. Scotland, the Flying Haggis team. So I thought we'd go a Scottish team this year. Something different for last year.
Good stuff.
All good though.
Well done.
Well done, mate.
Here's the main man.
Yeah, the main man, yeah.
Do you ever get tired of doing that?
No. I'm going to go and do a victory lap.
He's going again. We're going to stop for James Cameron.
My radio's not working.
Radio's not working. How was that?
Oh dear, that was awesome.
Excellent.
As always.
Well done. Now, here's the man I really want to talk to, because in he comes, having finished his dip into the sea. He's even got Charlie from Brscc to help him along as well. He's going to give him a hug. Come over here, Greg. I was expecting a full costume, but oh well. So, go on then, Superman yourself. How was that?
it was actually quite good fun, and for a really good cause. So yeah, just take the complete Mickey out yourself for others. Sometimes it's worthwhile. So yeah.
Yeah, no, good effort.
Thank you.
Yeah, good effort. Well done. Go and dry out for the race.
I will.
Well done. So, good stuff from Greg. The Polo Rosso team are coming back in as well, so we'll catch them, I think, in a second. Over they come. Quite literally wadding their way across. How was that?
Cold.
Cold.
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable.
Wet. But yeah, good, really good.
You broke it up with your teammates.
We're all over the place. These two are taking selfies. James is doing James.
Awesome race.
Very good race.
A little bit of track limits, otherwise spawn.
It wasn't even that cold. Yeah. All good. Not
I've never
cold.
been so far off track, I've ended up in the sea.
Yet.
True, there's still hope.
Maybe don't go that far in the race.
We'll see. We'll see.
Superb. If you haven't woken up for the race, you certainly have now, so well done. Congratulations, well done, 3 you go. And yeah, there you go. That was pretty much chickens and unicorns and crayons and traffic cones and all. But that was, from what you saw of it, the 2024 Biathlon of Foolishness. It was Rob's turn to go down to the coast to check it out. So I'm sure it'll be my turn next year. But yeah, congratulations to all that run it. Congratulations to Greg from Brscc for doing his thing dressed as a unicorn. Last few still coming across. So I think we're getting to the point now where we're getting near to on the road now to the main event, of course, which is Race of Remembrance 2024. 55 teams ready to go for a 3-part 12-hour race, and it's going to be, as far as I'm aware, a Lotus and a BMW on the front row of the grid. So we're going to get set for that pretty soon. I believe we're roughly sort of about in my lunch break at this point now, so we shall wait and see how the rest of this race this plays out and start the build up towards 2024 Race of Remembrance. So stay tuned with us, and we'll be back with you very shortly.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Let's go racing!
Perseverance. The dictionary terms it as something which is you carry on in the face of adversity despite opposition and failure. That's a quality that not only people in the military need, but also those on the racetrack when going for victory. And of course, this weekend we combine both of those worlds to get things underway. Welcome to the Race of Remembrance 2024 here at Anglesey. Scott Woodwis, Rob Lewis, Paul Trussell, of course, on the mic as well, that you'll hear very shortly, as you would have heard earlier on in the Club Sport Trophy race. This is the big moment. The grid walk is starting. The cars are forming up onto the grid. 55 teams are ready to go for a three-part 12-hour race, all centred around, of course, this Remembrance weekend. So special for so many reasons. And Rob, given that the bagpipes are coming through as well, we've got the cars lining up here, the grid walk's starting to form. It's crunch time. This is something pretty special, and it's going to kick off in about roughly half an hour's time.
Albeit, we know why we're here. Race of Remembrance. We talk about the things behind it, giving back to our military, giving back to our veterans, raising brilliant amounts of money for Mission Motorsport. They're still racing drivers. There's going to be the nerves. They're about to embark on a very unique, but nevertheless, they're embarking on a 12-hour endurance race. And don't forget, last year's winners, Williams Racing, they're not here. Callum Lockie, he's not here. So it's all to play for. And more importantly, can these guys in the Elise, Rob Boston Racing, they've won it before, and they are desperate to snatch it back this year. I think it's time for us to go for a little bit of a wander, Scott, so I'll let you do the honours for the first drivers.
I think it is. Let's start firstly with the pole-sitting car. That it is the Rob Boston Racing Lotus Elise, which has been prominent in a couple of Supersport races. One driver we're going to chat to has been a recent joiner of Rob Boston Racing, Sam Heading. Good to see you, Sam Hill's Race of Remembrance. I think this is your first one, isn't it?
Yeah, my first ever endurance race, yeah, so a bit of a learning curve, but yeah, looking forward to it.
You're a bit of a glutton for punishment because you've had such a year this year with MX-5 Super Cup, the Audi TTs, and now you're in the Elise now for three-part 12-hour race. Something about small sports cars must ring true with you.
Yeah, I do like it. Obviously, I've been doing a bit of front-wheel drive recently, so I've made the switch back to rear-wheel drive. But yeah, no, it's going all right recently. I really like it. Really great car. Well, it's gone all right so far. I've just got to keep it on for 12 hours now, haven't we?
Yeah, briefly just talk us through how practice and qualifying's gone for you. Any particular dramas, or has it been smooth as silk?
No, the car's been absolutely perfect. Obviously, the first time I saw the car was yesterday, so it took about the morning just to get used to it, sort of how it feels. Obviously, it's got aero as well, so but yeah, no, we were obviously really quick. Car's been absolutely fine, no problems at all. So it's got to keep like that.
Of course, you know you're used to 15-20-minute sprints. You're now going to go for 12 hours now, of course, between you and the drivers in your lineup. How do you change your mentality, your approach to this race, given that you're so used to shorter, sharper races in the Mazda and the Audi?
Yeah, obviously it's going to be difficult because obviously, like my whole life, I've just been doing sprint races. So I've got the radio, so I think they're going to spend a lot of time telling me to sort of calm it down. But I've only ever driven flat out. But yeah, that's why we're learning.
Of course, bit of weight expectation. This car and this team have won this race before in 2022, so starting from the best place possible. But I think we both know that pole position can mean nothing if you can't be there at the end.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, also, I know I've got a great car behind me. Rob Boston knows what he's doing, so I've just got to sort of, do the honours for him and see how it goes.
Well, for your first one, best of luck. Fingers crossed how you get on. Let's cross the other side of the grid because Rob's going to have a chat with our front row men, which is the RAF Motorsport BMW.
Well, I've managed to grab probably the tallest man on the grid, actually. Chris Slater, BMW E36 M3.
Boy.
I must say we were slobbering over this car yesterday. It's a mean machine.
36 plus 10.
36 plus 10.
It's a 46. It's an E46.
E46. I'll get my words there in the end. But you're out in this car, front row, this weekend, and you guys are running on some special fuel.
Not in this car. We've got 4 cars in this weekend. We've got this Audi TT behind us that's running on sustainable diesel. Got towed here using the same fuel. Trucks full of fuel. The decanting from the truck into the car, and then it'll get towed back on sustainable as well. And then probably about 8 or 9 rows back, we've got a 19, which is a Mazda MX-5 that's running on sustainable petrol. Some stuff that we used last year in the Armed Forces Race Challenge, and then we're using it to do a sustainable petrol car as well. And then car 18 is a BMW 116, which we've called the RAF Motorsports Graduates team. So that's got 2 brand new drivers that have been supporting us, spanner in, and we've put them through a sim process. Track day with an instructor. They've got their hard test, and this is their first ever race.
Fantastic. And are you a bit nervous, car on the front row, going for the overall win?
This is something quite new to do with this kind of car. It normally races with the BMW Championship and BMW CCI with 750, so it's normally only a 20-minute car. We'll see how good the maths are on fuel loads, but there's 3 drivers in it. 2 of them drive M3s all the time, drive them really fast. One of them doesn't drive M3s very often and doesn't really drive very fast. But it's all about keeping clean, trying to keep reliability, and just trying to get some consistency. So yeah, we'll see how we get on.
Good luck to you in this race there, Chris. I'm sure we'll be talking to you throughout the weekend. And just to give you a bit of proof on this car really being a diesel. Yep. Scott, who have you got?
Well, I'm going to have a chat with them at McAnulty if I can. They're in a sea of people. I'm going to quickly try and elbow my way in, see if I can have a quick chat with them at McAnulty, who are 3rd on the grid in their Lotus for ES Motorsport. Who have we got here, David or Jason?
Jason.
So, you were here last year. You had 1 or 2 difficulties trying to get through the traffic in some cases, but back here, I guess, for a bit of redemption. 3rd on the grid. How's it gone so far?
Had a few issues. I had an electrical throttle issue yesterday. So on the data, we was 1.7 up off my pole time, so I would have been on pole. That's life in racing. But yeah, it's today. It's the day. So we love it. That's why we come back. It's a great venue. Get more track time here in the weekend. You're doing a whole season, so why not come back and do it? Finishes the season off, as we won't be starting round to Easter, I suppose.
Does this race have a special meaning or a special place in your heart for a particular reason?
Yeah, obviously on the history of it, and obviously we've been the Race of Remembrance for all the vets and, served for the country and crown and whatever. So yeah, it's always good to show your respect. We're in the care business, able care, so obviously we see a lot of vets and come into into our care homes, and we always do stuff. So it's great to see, really.
And that's And that's the common thing with everyone's here for the same reason, not just to take part in a great motor race, but to support a great cause, to support a great weekend that means so much to so many people. So to be a part of it, it's almost without question to be part of it and to be part of something truly special, particularly when it's the 10th running and the 10th anniversary.
Yeah, and most people say have had, relatives in the past, fighting for the countries, so it's, it is deep in the heart for everybody, and for us, that's why we're back.
So what is the plan in the opening laps, the opening couple of stints? Is it just try and keep up with these guys in front, or get yourselves in the mix and settle down? What do you think is going to be the plan of attack initially?
I'll be getting to the front and I should be getting off. I don't want to be anywhere near this lot, no, so I'll try to get away. So
this is going to be a 12-hour sprint race rather than a 12-hour endurance?
No chance. My stint's a quali squints. so yeah, we'll be getting in and get going. Hopefully, she hangs together.
When in doubt, flat out, as McRae said. Good stuff. Right, well, best of luck. We'll see you get on that.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.
Good
Thanks.
stuff. Of course, next, of course, we've got the RAF Motorsport, the diesel-powered Audi TT. That started out as a car that raced in the VW Racing Cup previously. And behind them, we've got two very different teams in many cases. We've got two Caterhams, one with a solo team here, with Don Henshaw in the mix. The Car 97 Leos team, and then just behind them, alongside them, is Breakdancer Racing. They have two entries here this year. I'll get my words out. This is their Caterham relay entry. 6 drivers between them. Those 6 drivers will also take to the number 8 Mazda MX-5. That car's been frequently in the Supersport Endurance Cup throughout 2024. And it's the only Caterham relay team in the mix, so they are the only ones that are going to be going for that relay crown. If they can go to overall victory, we'll have to wait and see. Just behind us, another key team to watch out for is going to be with Rob, and that is the Clapham North MOT Mazda MX-5 with the man himself, George Grant, and Will Blackwell Chambers having a quick chat with Rob Lewis.
Well, you walk into one Mazda driver and then you find them all. Will Blackwell Chambers, George Grant, definitely trouble on this grid, I must say. But George, you've given very kindly to the Race of Remembrance this year and you're backing the race.
Well, it's a sort of natural thing from my point of view to do, because 10 years ago I started my racing career actually at the grand old age of
21.
Yeah. And but it's great to see what Jim Cameron has done with Mission Motorsport, the entire brand, and what we've done here. I mean, what, 50 odd cars now, 55 cars or something like that. It's just a remarkable testament to what the guys at Mission Motorsport have done, and obviously the way in which we can remember, you know, our armed forces in this way. It's a very moving tribute, but it's also we're very competitive. Young Will and myself, very competitive. So we're starting, I think we're P7?
P7, P1 in class.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So, Will, feisty MX-5 driver, you've raced in the MX-5 Super Cup and you're here taking in the endurance race with George this weekend. Eyes forward, right?
Yeah, having to adjust my driving style slightly. We're probably a little bit harder on the car normally in the main series than we sort of are doing here, but no, it's something I've always wanted to do, but I've never had the budget to do. Luckily, George came along and gave me a hand with that, so massive thanks for him for getting me on the grid, basically.
And you're racing with a roof.
Yeah, it's really warm in there. We've got a little bit of ventilation out of it, but it's still a little bit hot, not going to lie, but no, it's pretty good. It's nice.
Expectations going into the race. It is a hard race. It's hard on tyres, it's hard on the car. You've said about adjusting your driving style. It's really about nursing the car through the race as well.
Yeah, Mark III gearboxes can be ropey, so it's basically looking after the gearbox, looking after the brakes, and just making sure we make it. At the end of the day, we'll be where we'll be. I think we've got a great driver lineup. Rob Boston's also jumping in to give us a hand in the night stint. But yeah, we're in a really good situation. I think we've got 2 quick drivers, so hopefully we'll do quite well.
George, all out for that win?
Yes, well, of course, 2 years ago we won with my mate Nick Rutter, who will be watching. Hello, Nick. Sorry he can't be with us, but Will's a fantastic replacement for you. And, yeah, it's... we're out for it. We're up for it, basically.
Fighting talk, I love it. Guys, I'll let you get suited up and ready to go, but thank you very much. Clapham North supporting the Race of Remembrance this year. Great work with George Grant. More MX-5s here. We've got the EBC Brakes Racing backed car number 91. We've got the RAF Motorsport E36 BMW. Scott, that's not as fat and cool as the E46 up at the front, but you can't beat an old BMW because it's got car number 48 right alongside it, another beautiful E46.
Yeah, I can't disagree. We're very much in Class C territory at the moment if you look down here, because we've gone past a pair of BMWs to another quartet of Mazda MX-5. This is Tequila Racing. Good to see them back in a brand new livery. Alongside them is TSW Auto Test. They're regulars in the MX-5 Championship. Good to see their squad in the mix. They've got likes of Ollie Graham and Seb Fisher in there too. Next up, we've got a very familiar car to those who know Race of Remembrance. This is the 101 car, which I think was been racing all the way since back to the very first one back in 2014. So good to see this car still going strong all this time. That's a testament to Race of Remembrance and Mission Motorsport ever since. And then we talked about breakdancer racing. Right next to them is their Mazda MX-5 that they've been running in Supersport Endurance Cup all season. This is their 6-driver car. We'll have a chat with one of their drivers down the mix. Which of the breakdancer 6-pack have we got here?
I'm Wes Payne.
Wes Payne. So this is slightly different to Supersport Endurance. It's 6 times longer, but how are you prepared for it?
We've prepared for it by changing the engine.
Right.
And since it hasn't run right, so we're going to see how it goes. I'm glad I'm going first because we don't know how long the car's going to last, to be honest.
You said that rather nervously. You got a bit of a different approach this year because, of course, you've not just got this car you're racing, you're in one of the relay caterings as well. How does your approach come to that knowing you've got to handle 2 different cars? You're familiar, of course, I know you from catering racing when you first started, but now you're, of course, in a different car on the MX-5. When you've got that different responsibility where you've got a car that all 6 drivers are sharing and another car which you're only sharing one other driver, how do you go through the motions with that in terms of how you prepare in that sense for having to switch from one car to the other?
There's a lot of responsibility to make sure you don't screw it up for your teammates, but at the end of the day, you always want to finish the race. So whether you've got 6 teammates, 5 teammates, or just yourself, it's the same mentality for me.
Who are you seeing as main competition? Looks like you're in front of some of the other cars in class, so who are you looking as the ones to try and beat and keep ahead of?
I mean, we're in a sort of Mazda sandwich at the moment. There's 2 Mazdas in front of us and 2 Mazdas behind, so the first few laps should be fun. Yeah.
And in terms of strategy for the first few laps, is it just keep your nose clean, you're going to attack a little bit, or just have you got a game plan that you've planned out beforehand, or just fly by the seat of your pants to see what happens?
The game plan is to survive the first couple of laps, and then it's a long race, so we'll see how it goes.
I think the phrase goes, if you're not there on the last lap, all the others count for nothing, so if you can make it through lap 1, you should be fine.
Absolutely, you can't win it on the first lap, but you can lose it.
Definitely. Well, listen, best luck to all of you guys. Fingers crossed it goes well, and hopefully we'll speak to you throughout the race. A little further back, couple more MX-5s in the mix. Actually, one car I think that Rob is going to have a chat to, very importantly, is our friends from North America, Operation Motorsports. Their Team US car is here. Rob, I'll let you dive in and have a chat.
I'm going to dive in here and chat to some drivers from across the pond. Mike Stillwagon, welcome back to Anglesey. It's not as wet as it is last year. There is a rain due to come. We won't talk about that bit. Welcome back to Anglesey. You are back in the GT86 prepared by Rogue Motorsport with Operation Motorsport. How's it feel being back?
It feels great. I look forward to this event every year. It's the 3rd consecutive year I'm doing it, and I've enjoyed it every year. It just keeps getting better and better. The turnout, the fans, there's no parking out there available. It's insane. I can't believe over the years how much it's evolved and has created such a huge fan base for such a great purpose, But I truly love coming here.
Now, we've heard rumours, and that was confirmed by the team at Operation Motorsport. There's something going on in the US next year.
Yes, there is. We're bringing this event to the United States at a track called Virginia International Raceway, and we're going to follow the same format and bring the awareness there as well, and help support our veterans. Yeah.
Quite literally spread the support around the world. Now I want to talk to the racing driver in you. You're going to be a gritty competitor. You were last year. These GT86s are great fun out on track, but are they fast?
All right, so it's not a momentum car per se like a Miata is, but they got some pep and they scoot pretty good. So it's a well-balanced car. You can ask it to understeer, you can ask it to oversteer, you can ask it to rotate. So it's for a true driver, it's got everything. Good balance, and it's a lot of fun.
And there's a few signatures going on in the background here on the race too. Explain what's going on here.
Okay, so we have Hunter Reeve, one of our beneficiary drivers. He is that's one of his suits that he used this season back in the States, and we're all signing that, and it's going to be auctioned off for charity at the U.S. event next November.
fantastic. Another worthwhile cause, and we've got whistles already. They're starting to clear people off the grid. Hopefully we can chat to a few more drivers, but for now, Mike, great to talk to you now.
Same here.
Let's see where Scott is further down the grid. So we've got the Operation Motorsport GT86 here. We've got another sea of Mazda MX-5s with roofs. The Paul Shear cars always look well prepared. Scott, this Jaguar.
This is a
absolutely stunning. Talk us through it.
Pretty special car. This has been put together by AFCN Motorsport. If you're wondering where there's loads of activities, because they've called the grid for regular people to clear the grid, at least the team members and everyone else on top. So this has been prepared by AFCN Motorsport. It's had some help with likes RML Group, even the Race of Remembrance collective. Good to see them in the mix. And the livery at Sports is done by this man right here, Pop Band Colour. Shout out to him. Makes a fantastic artwork with just about anything he can get his hands on to paint these cars. And it is genuine paint. If you look at it, it's looking very carefully. It's proper paint. It's not like a vinyl wrap or anything. It's proper painted with toy cars, we're being told in this one, which is excellent to see. Fantastic machine. Good to see a Jaguar on the grid. We don't often see too many of them in many cases. Just going so we can quickly let the guys get in and have a look at it. So this is the car to watch out for throughout the race. Fingers crossed it has a trouble-free run, and we'll see how it gets on. This is another key car as well. This is one of the GT86 is one of the Mission Motorsport cars. Now their cars are all running on sustainable fuels. So this is a car that's, of course, liveried up quite appropriately. Good to see on that side.
Great to see on that side.
Another MX-5 here as well. This is, I was talking to Nick Mangill on that one before. We've got the Trac's got the minis here as well. We've got the second of the Operation Motorsport cars, the Canadian team car, which is a bit further back here also. And it's really, as we're getting close to race time, more a case of just walking backwards and finding more cars and more teams that we can just keep running through and have a look at. We've got the NJM
Motorsport are back in Kermit. It's great to see that Fiesta back on the grid. The team normally run under various MSVR championships. They're back in their hire car. They do this event every year. The last few years, unfortunately, the Ford badge has let them down, and they've come across mechanical gremlins. The Honda Civic FN2, our Scottish cousins over the border.
Flying
they had
Haggis
some
Racing.
issues last year in the Flyers Haggis Racing team, and also tried some googly-eyed antics while we were doing the broadcast earlier. But are you hoping for a better run this time around?
Yes, we are, and just, you know, on the googly-eyed antics, we're just, yeah. No, we're good, actually. We're really well prepared. We've spent a lot of time this year putting 2 lights on the front of the car, and that's about our modifications, so.
Fantastic. Well, great to see you guys back on the grid. Let's just see if we can run down. We've got BMW 116 trophy cars aplenty, and of course Citroen C1s as well, Scott. I can't forget the troop from there.
But there's one car I do want to see before we possibly get kicked off the grid shortly, and it's this machine. We had Citroen C1s and all sorts. The Fiat Panda's back. DC Lomas Motorsport is back once again, and we'll have a quick chat with the guys if we can very, very quickly. I think the window's open, so we can have a quick word to see how they're feeling about it. So, the Panda's back. How are you feeling about it?
Good afternoon, sir. It's fantastic. I'm lucky to start today. It's been a little while since I've started a full race, and I'm looking forward to getting in amongst it. It seems like we've qualified quite well. So we've got a bit of fun on the early opening laps, I think, with the 116s behind.
I think your strategy was to bamboozle people thinking why there's a Fiat Panda on the circuit, and you say you did that last year.
I must say, it's quite funny watching people say, was that a Fiat Panda? Yes, yes it was. Yes it was.
Yeah, good to see. So again, are you just attacking from the off? Have you got a strategy in mind? What's the plan for the next 12 hours?
Use what I can. I know that the top 7, 8 will be coming through by lap 8. So there's a possibility to take advantage or heed with caution and just take my time.
Good stuff. Well, best of luck with it. I hope the Panda gets to the end unscathed, and fingers crossed you do well.
Enjoy your afternoon, guys. Thank you.
Great stuff. And then you're absolutely right, Rob. We do go backwards, plenty into 116 trophy territory. Another key car which you're about to point out, this one.
That's not a GT86, that is a Subaru BRZ. That was bought as a Category N write-off and repaired using parts from eBay in partnership with eBay. We have got cars firing up now to get going. We've got beautiful cars here. We've got the Citroen 2CV with the BMW motorcycle engine in it. I cannot wait to see how that car goes. all of these BMW 116s looking absolutely stunning, and of course the Citroen C1s from the C1 Racing Club Silver Lake are 1 and 2 in that. If they could get their qualifying form into their races, which has hampered them so badly this year, they've never had any luck in the races, they are desperate for this time around.
Don't count out the quartet of WRC Automotives cars that are in the mix, including the one that's the We Buy Any Phone car with BTCC star James Kay at the wheel, and also you've got Scuderia Polo Rosso for their first weekend in the Mark II as well. I have to give a shout out to Robin Walsh for letting them use that for this weekend too. So this is it. It's showtime. This is now time for the 2024 Race of Remembrance, supporting Mission Motorsport in association with Brscc. So myself and Rob are going to get ourselves in position, but now for the first time for this race, it's time to hand you back to the commentary box to hand you over to the one and only master of endurance commentary that is Paul Truswell. Paul, the grid's all yours.
Thank you very much, Scott and Rob. And just to give you some idea, if you were watching there as Scott and Rob seemed to go down the entire grid, they probably got 2/3 of the way, and then the marshals wanted them off the grid because they need to get the race underway in less than 10 minutes now, and will include a lap behind the safety car. It will, of course, be a rolling start for the Race of Remembrance with 55 cars lined up on the grid looking to the very back there. I think all 55 of them are in position. Yeah, I think there are no gaps, so we've done very well indeed. A 5-minute board is shown at the start to signify 5 minutes to go before the final pace lap. Just a reminder, because it was quite a long time ago, that Scott and Rob were up at the front of the grid. We do have a Lotus and a BMW on the front row. The Rob Boston Lotus on the front row, car number 119, sharing that row with the BMW, which is car number 27, which will be started by Paul Cook. In the Rob Boston car, number 119, we've got Sam Heading. We heard from him. Paul Cook, as I say, will be starting in the BMW alongside, and then immediately behind is the 117 Lotus Elise, which will be in the hands of Jason McInulty on the inside of the second row of the grid there. And then the very interesting, very powerful Audi TT. This is a diesel engine car. It'll be started by Matthew Isherwood, and of course with the diesel providing lots and lots of torque, fairly good fuel consumption, but despite the good fuel consumption, it's a front wheel drive car and it tends to eat through its front tyres. So the team was telling me they're probably actually going to have to come into the pits to change the front tyres before the thing actually runs out of fuel. 6 mandatory pit stops are demanded by the regulations over the course of the 12 hours. Each of those pit stops must be 4 minutes long. If you're going to stop the car, refuel it, change the driver, then it needs to be a 4-minute pit stop. And as I say, there need to be 6 of those over the course of the 12 hours of the race. The race split into 3 parts, 7 hours today, starting at 3 o'clock in just a few moments' time, running through until 10 o'clock at night here in Anglesey by, in fact, it'll be going dark in about 2 hours, I reckon, and then running through until 10 o'clock tonight, then starting again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And just to make the point, there are no part firmware regulations overnight, so the cars can be worked on overnight, and that probably means that they'll certainly be putting new brakes on the cars, certainly filling them up with fuel, putting new tyres on. So in many cases you'll be getting a totally new car coming out on Sunday morning, 9 o'clock. They'll race for an hour and a half, and then we will pause at 10:30, ready for the Remembrance service. After the Remembrance service, we'll get going again about 11:30 and then run through till 3 o'clock to complete the full 12 hours of the race. So although it is 12 hours, it is split into 3 portions. During the Remembrance service, it is part firmé, so there is going to be work being done on the cars overnight, but not in the interval on Sunday. The final results of the race are then calculated as an aggregate of those first two parts, and then the third part is added onto that. So it will be a little bit complicated to follow, but I'm sure we'll manage it between us. So that's the first two rows of the grid then. Lotus Elise sharing with BMW on the front row, Sam Heading in the Lotus Elise and Paul Cook in the BMW. The second row, Jason McAnulty in the Lotus, and then Matthew Isherwood in the Audi TT alongside. And then on the third row of the grid, we've got the Breakdancer Racing relay team with the number 77 car there being started by Darryl Cresswell. And alongside him is the other Caterham, but this one running as part of the Heroes Trophy, which is to say one car rather than a relay car, the Leos Racing car, number 97, and that will be started by Steve McCulley in one of the very few cars, along with Jason McAnulty, that started with just two drivers, Steve McCulley sharing with Don Henshaw on the third row of the grid. Then the fourth row of the grid is where we see the first two Class D cars, beg your pardon, Class C cars, which, I mean Class B cars, don't I? Yes, the less powerful Mazdas, with the George Grant car being started by Will Blackwell Chambers, and then alongside him is the 91 Mazda, which Stuart Humphrey will be starting, but Stuart has Alex Capadia and Martin Rich, two very accomplished drivers, helping him out, and I think we're going to see a good battle in Class C there between those two Mazdas as the cars head off on their warming up lap. The final pace lap then, the Bentley Bentayga taking them round on this final warming up lap before the start of the 2024 Race of Remembrance. Making a great sight there as they come around then behind the Bentley. Rest of getting the Clapham North MOT car with George Grant, former class winner, of course. So lots to prove from both of those as they head up into Rocket, out of Rocket, through Peel, down the hill, then sharp left onto the Tom Price straight. Safety car leading them round at a very gentle pace.